We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the October meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Public notice will be read at the start of the open portion. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Balca?
Here.
Mrs. Bacco?
Here.
Mr. Bishada?
Present.
Mrs. Bloom?
Here.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Ms. Rubio?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Sayak?
Here. Can I have a motion for executive, please?
So moved.
By Mrs. Bloom. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Callahan. Would you read the resolution, please, Ms. Hill?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, and negotiations on the SEA. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Balca?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacco?
Yes.
Mr. Bishada?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Sayak?
Yes. Okay, the meeting is closed. We'll reconvene at 7:30. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. Thank you for coming. Take notice this public meeting of the Sayreville Board of Ed was emailed to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger in accordance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Further, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6-21, a copy is posted outside the Secretary's office and filed with the Clerk of the Borough of Sayreville. Please rise for the pledge to the flag. Please remain standing after the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, last week we lost a former member of our staff, Dr. Jeffrey Huguenin. Jeff Huguenin served several years ago as a vice principal of Sayreville Middle School. Following his appointment as vice principal of Sayreville Middle School, he left Sayreville. He eventually became appointed as a principal of an elementary school. He pursued his doctorate, he earned his doctorate, and he passed away at the age of 46 unexpectedly. Dr. Huguenin was a phenomenal educator. He was one of us. He was someone who truly cared about children and someone who dedicated his entire life not only to raising his own family, but educating the youth of tomorrow. I'd like to have a moment of silence in memory of Dr. Jeffrey Huguenin. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Hill, roll call, please.
Mr. Balca?
Here.
Mrs. Bacco? Here. Mr. Bishada?
Present.
Mrs. Bloom?
Here.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Ms. Rubio?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Sayak?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, this is our last board meeting prior to the election. I would just like to remind everyone that all of the candidates who are running, as well as all of the board members up here, are unpaid volunteers simply looking to serve their community. This is a place where we're going to discuss not only the performance of our district over the past year, but also the future of our children. So I ask that you keep in mind, with regard to any comments that you may make tonight, that every individual who is either running for the board or serves on this board does so as a volunteer in the community, but also behind them is a mother, father, sister, brother, husband, wife, and son or daughter. So please be mindful of that as you make your comments this evening. Executive session. Ms. Hill?
The board discussed personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, and negotiations regarding the SEA.
Okay, thank you very much. I've also been informed that the band instruments that the board had allocated funding for back in August have been delayed, and I know that there are some concerned members of the band here regarding that item. Since the delay has been on our end, I really would rather they not wait till the end of the board meeting to address the board.
So if the board is okay with this, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Labby and Ms. Hill just for an update as to where we are with that, and then also open it up to the public for any items that they want to discuss regarding the band instruments. Anyone object? Nope. Okay, Dr. Labby or Ms. Hill?
Hey, Ms. Hill?
Sure. So the orders for the band instruments, for the ones that we board approved on August 28th, have all gone out at this point. A lot of the items have long lead times. In fact, one of the instruments we likely won't get until April, some others not until January, November, some near the end of the month, but most of the items that we ordered will be here before the end of the week.
Okay, and part of this delay is due to the systems conversion that we had with regard to...
A little bit with that, but it's also when I had gone out for quotes for these items, I actually quoted it out with 8 different vendors. We ended up awarding to 6 different vendors, and they were all new vendors to us. So we had to get a lot of paperwork from all of them. It probably took about 2 weeks longer than we expected to get those orders out the door.
Okay. All right, does anyone from the public want to address the board regarding the band instruments? Please come to the microphone, and we just need your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Sue Adams, 40 Jensen Road, Sayreville. Good evening, everyone. I am the president of the Band Parent Association, a parent of a junior student, and a current marching band member. I'm here representing the band parents to first and foremost express our deepest and sincerest gratitude for allocating funds to supply us with new instruments. We were excited and are still excited and await their arrival. We have 2 championship competitions this upcoming weekend. Saturday is our state competition, and Sunday's New York, New Jersey regional. We have instruments that we're playing with, as you all well know, that have far surpassed their life expectancies. Our sousaphones from the 1960s and 70s are holding up, thankfully. I think what really struck us most was this weekend when we competed at Governor Livingston High School in Berkeley Heights. The judges praised our students, praised our show, praised our musicality. And then they said, "Do you think you could borrow instruments from another school?" It's really embarrassing. You guys have it, your kids are good, but what they're playing on is just not cutting it. Again, we are so grateful what you guys did for us. We're disappointed, we're frustrated that they're not here. We're finishing our season without them. We're going into championships with instruments that the only thing I can equate it to is our football team going to a championship game with a Nerf football. You know, pillows strapped on their backs instead of padding. We're doing our best. We parents got on the phone Monday, calling from our jobs, looking for music stores that would rent out instruments for us. We found a place in Wisconsin, but they wanted $3,000 to ship it, so we kind of took a pass on that. You know, contrary to what you may think, we really are appreciative. We're frustrated. We understand there are delays in things. There's delays in a lot of things. We find that we don't have reeds or valve oil, things that have been ordered in August. So consequently, a couple of us are going to be going out to music stores and purchasing reeds and valve oil that our students need to get through the rest of the season. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. We are appreciative. We thank you all for thinking of us. And we look forward to coming and playing for you with our new instruments when we do get them. And Mr. Sayak, you specifically, we'd like to thank you for emceeing our Night of 1,000 Stars.
Thank you.
We
It was a
enjoy
pleasure.
having you. You ad-lib up there like no one else. And no one can sell a pickle on a stick like you can, Mr. Sayak. Nobody. So thank you once again for coming to our wonderful show that had 0% chance of rain, which we know that no longer exists, right? Thank you again. We are appreciative, and we look forward to playing with you, or playing for you, I should say, with our new instruments.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams.
And Ms. Hill, you said those instruments will, I know some of them have a delay, but some of them will be here this week?
I don't know that any of the actual instruments will be here because, again, those come directly from the manufacturer. So the places that we're ordering from don't have control. They don't have them in stock. Some of the items we might get, some of the smaller items, but I know, for example, the bassoon we won't have definitely until April. So, and unfortunately, the companies don't keep them in stock at their location. When they get the order, they place it through their dealer, and it gets drop shipped to us. So it's something that we have no real control over on those.
Okay, and Dr. Labby, you can research this tomorrow, but if we can expedite shipping in any way, I mean, I realize we're not ordering from Amazon, you don't get free 2-day shipping, but if we can expedite shipping in any way in light of the championship, that would be a big help.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do, a lot of the items that maybe aren't necessarily instruments, but other things that were included are coming in this week. So we have a lot of stuff that's scheduled to come in tomorrow and Thursday.
Okay.
And you know, we sincerely apologize for the delay, but we also want our band members to know how much we appreciate everything that they do. They're amazing performers, and they represent our district so impeccably. And you know, I have to remember the first year that I was here. They truly were that beautiful sound that came out of a lot of ugliness, and I'll never forget that. And that's why when we did receive the additional state aid, we knew that we needed to make a major investment in our band. It might have been a little too late because it was in August, but I know that this board and this administration is committed to continuing to provide our band with what it needs, so that you never have to be in a situation where a judge says something like that to you. And I do want to commend our band. You know, I apologize if the instruments did not give you the advantage that you were expecting, but our band has been performing magnificently in all of their competitions. I don't think we've been placed any lower than second place in any of the competitions, and I believe we are ranked third in our group, but that's nothing unusual either, because our band, second now? Because our band is naturally and normally in that top 1 or 2 bands in their group and regionally too. And again, we can't thank our band members, our instructors, our coaches, and of course our incredibly supportive band parents for that.
Thank you. All right, well, moving on now to our Student Council Representatives Report. Mr. Lewis, welcome back. Rocking the bow tie as usual.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. There's a lot going on to start the school year, as usual. Just this week alone, Unified Sports is coming up, and that will start on Thursday. We have homecoming and pep rally on Friday, so make sure to be there. We have Spirit Week is continuing this whole week. There is Sports Logo Day coming up, Pink Out. We had a Pink Out Day. There's Jersey Day, all that stuff. We had a Blackout Day. And then Cancer Awareness Week was last week, so we're just trying to get the spirits up high before pep rally and homecoming this Friday. NHS tutoring is also starting in the library, and it started that Monday. For fall sports, as you should know, our football team is doing great right now. We're 6-0. Our soccer team was just playing out on the field out there, and winter's obviously coming and starting for workouts and tryouts will be next month for most of those sports. And I was even at the band competition that you were emceeing. I don't like pickles, but I was tempted to buy a pickle on a stick too. So yeah, a lot of students from there, not in band, helped out in directing at the middle school and transferring them to the high school. Disney trip, I know it's far, long time away, but the chocolate sales are also starting to get in full gear. We had a Disney meeting on back to school night, in which everything and the info was all transferred to the parents and teachers. Student Council also took a TCNJ trip in which there were workshops and speeches from different representatives there. And the FBLA events were also picked for the FBLA competition, state and regional competitions that are upcoming. Relating to the business, we have the DECA trip tomorrow to Kane University. And then looking forward, we have quarterlies already upcoming. I was just talking to Mr. Callahan, college stuff is starting to go out, and then Halloween's coming up too. It's a big time for school spirit too, so it's a lot that's happening in the school. Lots happened already, and a lot we have to look forward to.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions for our student representative? All right, thank you. All right, next on our agenda, the most important and influential individual with regard to an impact on educational performance is the teacher in the classroom. And in order for that individual to have the maximum impact, first and foremost, that individual needs to be in the classroom. So today we celebrate those individuals who for one or more years, and in some cases many, many years, have attained perfect attendance in service to the Sayreville Public Schools and our students. And please know that it makes a tremendous difference to us that you make it an effort every single day to be there, especially when you have children every single day who are coughing on you and sneezing on you, and you work hard to develop an immunity to those germs so you can continue to come and serve all of our students. So Dr. Labby, I'll turn it over to you, and you can say some words while I come up to present the awards.
Andrew, can you change to the next slide? Thank you, Mr. I couldn't have said it better myself. We are very blessed to have the most amazingly dedicated and inspiring personnel working in our school district, not only our certificated staff, but also our non-certificated staff. And the amount of dedication and commitment that they demonstrate each and every day is quite inspiring for me. To have the opportunity to work with individuals that come to work no matter what, every single day, and give 150% of themselves for the children that they serve is quite humbling. So, we salute, as a Bomber Nation, all of our incredibly talented staff members. But tonight, this evening is dedicated to those staff members who achieved perfect attendance during the 2017-18 school year. So to assist me, Mr. Sayak, I'd first like to call up and celebrate Linda Bayless. Is Linda here? No? Okay. She's absent. Okay.
First time.
I know she's here. Dawn Cherry, our Assistant Business Administrator. And I think this next person has probably been on the perfect attendance list going on, and we normally keep track of this, probably the past 5 or 6 years. Mrs. Coglianese, the principal at the Sam Soper Elementary School. My goodness gracious. Think about that, 10 years, perfect attendance, amazing. Mr. James Coleman from the high school. Is James here? No? Okay. Magdala Gwitz, is she here? No? Okay. Our business administrator, along with our assistant business administrator, Ms. Hill. Monica Jackson McBurse. Anna Jedruziak. Alicia Jerzak. Tom Law. You see, he has such dedication he couldn't even be here. James Mosden. Patsy Palma. Anthony Rivera. Olga Santiago. Mark Skibig. Katarzyna Soares. Joan Sylvester. Ronald Twardos. Tom Winazek. And Edward Zarowski. So naturally these staff members were not here, but please give them all a great big hand. Is it working? Shall I stay up here?
Next up on our agenda, we kick off our 2019-20 budget process, believe it or not, tonight. And the first item in that process is always our state of the schools given by our superintendent. So Dr. Labby, I'll turn it over to you for your
Thank
state
you,
of the
Mr.
schools
Sayak.
address.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sayak. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging and just saying a few words about the incredibly talented and dedicated people seated here to the left of me. This is our A-team, our administrative team, and I couldn't work with a more dedicated, committed, and hardworking group of people than the people sitting here, and I can't thank them enough for all that they do for all of our students. So thank you guys very much. Please give them a great big hand. Mr. Sayak, empirically, the education is based upon the level of effectiveness of the teacher. But right with the level of effectiveness of the teacher is the level of effectiveness of the administration working with the teachers. And then parents, right there after that is the level of support and involvement of parents. So those are the three most prominent factors in the success of children. Teachers, administrators, parents. So our administrative team, our A-team, thank you guys very, very much for everything. Okay, and as Mr. Sayak said, we do this every year, and the purpose of our State of the Schools address, just like the State of the Union address or the State of the State address, it's to provide you with an overview of the current level of thoroughness and efficiency of our educational programs, services, and our business operation. In this presentation, I'm going to quickly go over with you what we accomplished in terms of our goals for the 2017-18 school year, as well as the goals that we've identified for the 2018-19 school year. And then after I'm finished, Ms. Hill is going to talk to you about some major accomplishments in our finance, in finance and infrastructure, as well as initiatives that we have slated for this upcoming school year. Mr. Glock-Malloy will do the same with technology. Dr. Aguiles will also do that for human resources. And Dr. Shediak will finish the presentation up by reviewing our standardized testing results and then also providing to you some of the accomplishments, some other accomplishments that we made with regard to student achievement and the initiatives that we have planned in student achievement for this upcoming school year. So first, our first goal last year was to increase catering revenue by 4%. Well, we actually increased that by 21%. And what I mean is our food service department, not only do they provide lunches and breakfasts for our students during the course of a day, but they also generate revenue from catering outside of the school day to different organizations that want to utilize their services. And you might not think it's a big deal, but that is a big deal for us. In order to continue to operate our own food services program, we rely heavily upon revenue from breakfast as well as revenue from catering services. It allows us to keep operating. If you look at most school districts, I would say only about 15% of the school districts, 15% of the school districts in New Jersey have their own operating food services department. We are one of them, and a big part of that is that catering revenue that we bring in. We also wanted to add funds to our maintenance reserve account and also through generating advertising revenue and so forth. We're happy to say that for the first time last year, not only did we sell advertisement on our website, but we also sold bus advertisements. So we're finally getting in there and generating miscellaneous revenue from our website as well as our buses. And we've talked about this many times before. We've been very lucky over the past 2 years to get additional state aid because we've been so under-adequately funded for the past 10 years. However, we still have much more to do. We still have much more to do for our band. We still have much more to do for our facilities. We still have much more to do for many of our other programs. The additional state aid helps, but we too as a district have to find ways to generate more revenue. And through advertising, we're able to do such. It's not a great deal right now, but we're hoping as time moves on, that number that we generate in terms of revenue from advertising will grow and grow and grow to help us better support our programs and our services. We also wanted to increase the amount of money in capital reserve, as well as maintenance reserve. We just did a master assessment of our district, and we're able to address certain high-profile facility problems. However, there are so many more things that we need to address with regard to our facilities. We have our oldest building that was built in 1939. and most of our buildings were not built too far after that. We need a lot of work to be done in the district. We need to be able to put monies in our capital reserve account and our maintenance account so that we can get that job done. So Mr. Kohlmansberger and his team has the resources to repair and make renovations that are absolutely critical to the school district. And as you can see, we transferred $2 million into capital reserve and $1 million into $1 million into capital and $1 million to maintenance reserve. We also wanted to complete phase 2 of the Arlith window project, and it is scheduled to be finished prior to the end of this school year. At our previous Board of Education meeting, we approved the bids and so forth. Mr. Preston is here today. He can attest to you how valuable those new windows are in terms of his building envelope, in terms of efficiency with regard to heating and so forth, and just functionality of those windows. So we have phase 1 completed, and by the end of this year, phase 2 of that particular part of his building envelope will be completed. We also wanted to resurface the high school turf athletic field. As you all know, that was done. It was done in August. And we wanted to investigate solutions to renovate our multi-sports area. Right across the way is our multi-sports area. It's where our baseball team plays, our marching band practices, and our field hockey team plays. Lately, it's been pretty, we haven't been able to use it for many things because it's been flooding. Several years ago, the district went ahead and installed a solution for drainage. That solution did not work. So we had our architects go out and our engineer go out and take a look at it, reassess it, and we believe for about $110,000 we can repair it to where it should have been. So we're hoping after that, by the time the fall of next year rolls around, the drainage problem in that multi-sport field will be fixed so that not only can our baseball team play baseball there in the 2020 season, but our marching band as well as our field hockey team can continue to use it without moving through the mud and so forth because of the drainage issue. In terms of technology, we wanted to increase the number of instructional classroom devices to 1-to-1 for grades 1 through 3. Well, Mr. Glock-Malloy not only accomplished that with his team, but with the help of our Finance and Infrastructure Committee, we were able to allocate enough funds, and that includes our additional state aid, to purchase enough devices so that we have a 1-to-1 ratio in preschool through 5th grade. And you might imagine that our goal for next year is to be able to purchase enough devices so that preschool through 12th grade, we have 1 device per student. But right now, we do have that ratio in preschool or K through 5. We also wanted to develop an evaluation system for approving softwares. That was completed. And we wanted to be able to upgrade our virtual server infrastructure so that it could be completed by the end of this year. And in fact, we did do that. Mr. Oranowitz and Mr. Glock-Malloy, as well as our engineers and technicians, we were able to not only purchase and install, not only purchase a new virtual server, switches for that server, and Wi-Fi access points, they were actually able to install them this year. So that goal has been completed as well. We wanted to increase targeted technology training. We were able to accomplish that too. And we wanted to purchase and implement a new student information software system. And as everyone knows here, we purchased OnCourse Connect, and we were able to provide training to our staff members on it, and a little bit of training as well to our parents on it so that they can use the OnCourse Connect feature. In terms of student achievement, our goals were students in preschool through kindergarten, pre-K through 10th grade, I should say, will show improvement in their overall literacy skills, as evidenced by 62% of our students in grade 3 meeting or exceeding expectations. Unfortunately, we did not meet that goal. However, we did increase our performance by 1 percentage point more than the previous year. Our next goal was for our students in pre-K through 9th grade to show improvement in their overall mathematics skills, as evidenced by 56% of the students in grade 5 meeting or exceeding expectations on the PARC 2018. We did not accomplish that either, as only 49% of those students met or exceeded expectations. So we did not meet either one of those goals, but we definitely have some target points that we are focusing on with regard to both of these areas for the upcoming school year. In addition, we wanted to increase academic achievement of our English language learners. as evidenced by a percentage of them meeting or exceeding standards on the WIDA access assessment. And we're proud to say that we did accomplish that. The percentage of students expanding, bridging, or reaching English proficiency increased by 3.91%. We want to also increase academic achievement of all students through effective instruction, challenging and rigorous curriculum, and multiple pathways for students to meet their individual needs by developing curriculum maps. That is ongoing right now. We are doing that in math and our science, our STEM curriculum guides. So we are ongoing with that. And we wanted to improve college and career readiness of students by establishing career academies, and we did do that as well. As you may know, we have our school business academy. Is it Student Business Academy? Sayreville Business Academy, as well as FACT. And FACT is our future, Foundations of Academic and Community Training. Yeah, it's our Future Educators Career Academy. So we're proud about that. We're looking forward to potentially implementing a third career academy this year or for the following year, and that would be our STEM Academy. In terms of culture and climate, we wanted to increase student engagement in the whole school program district-wide by creating additional clubs and activities. We were able to accomplish that. We implemented, of course, our Future Educators Academy, our Sayreville Business Academy. We also had a number of other different activities for students. We had the hackathon. Of course, we started the Air Force Junior ROTC program. We expanded unified sports not only to K through 12, but preschool as well. And a number of other related arts and co-curricular activities were implemented during the course of the year. We also wanted to increase the percentage of parents and community members that participate in school functions through the creation of family nights and unified sports designed to engage community members and students in collaborative activities. This is ongoing as well, from the number of PTO meetings and other functions related to curriculum and instruction, our PROUD meetings, and if you're not familiar with PROUD is our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. Thanks to Mrs. Obrick and Dr. Aguilis, we created something called Parent University, another forum for our parents to be able to come out and learn more about some of the things that are going on with regard to our schools and their students. We also had a standards-based report card, several standards-based report card meetings, several school security workshops, and so forth. We wanted to also increase staff retention by conducting exit interviews for all employees who left our district. And we were hoping that we would have a reduction in the number of people leaving our district. Although we had slightly more staff members leave the district, Dr. Aguilis, our Director of Human Resources, conducted a number of different exit interviews with our staff members so that we can gauge as to why, in fact, they decided to leave our district. And finally, we wanted to increase career advancement opportunities for staff by implementing a cohort in our Leadership Academy and providing buildings and district-wide opportunities for certificated and non-certificated staff to expand their leadership skills, as measured by the interest in informal or internal leadership positions and promotions. We did accomplish this. We had 12 members of our Leadership Academy graduate in June, thanks to the efforts of Mrs. Johnson and Dr. Aguilis and Mrs. Oberg. It was a great success. We are implementing our cohort number 2. They were selected in the spring of last year, and we have our first workshop on October 30th. So these are the goals that were completed from last year. Oh, and one last, we wanted to promote student-led school climate changes and so forth. I won't go ahead and read the entire goal, but basically we wanted to make sure that we're implementing activities that addressed harassment, intimidation, and bullying and so forth. So we did accomplish this to develop the social and emotional skills of our students and to prevent HIV. We implemented the Responsive Classroom Character Education Program and the Playworks Recess Character Education Program in all of our elementary schools, including the Samsel Upper Elementary School. We're continuing to professionally develop and train our staff via Sayreville University and into our teachers district-wide. for a number of different other things. We're also generating revenue from our Sayreville University because other districts are coming to our district for professional development. And an amazing idea by Ms. Oberg in our professional development department was to begin doing drop-in professional development during teacher prep periods and so forth, and that too was a grand success. So these were our goals in the manner in which we accomplished, or in some cases didn't accomplish them. Our 2019, 18-19 goals, we want to continue to increase our catering revenue in food services by 9%.
So Dr. Labby, I'm going to stop you just for 1 second. Are there any questions on the 17-18 portion? Let's take that one first, because this gets to be a lot to remember if we don't.
I have a question. Back to the student-led, we had talked, I remember, about a security student-led. Remember the students came here and we were supposed to do something with the security committee. Was anything ever done with those students?
Having students go to the security
We had one student that approched us.
And they had a group.
Oh, and
one
that
student came to the mic and we were
the
supposed to do a
school security committee.
So just, okay, so to review, this was during the whole walkout period?
Correct.
And we had students come. No, those students, I think they initiated something with Mr. Brown, but they never followed through with it.
But we did have a separate student who was not part of that group that emailed us wanting to meet, and the school security committee met with that one individual.
We did, and that one student gave a
Yes.
great presentation to
remember.
us at our
Right.
school security meeting.
Okay, so that's complete then? There are no, that group of students is, I thought the group of students was supposed to come to the security meeting and we were supposed to try to work together.
That
Okay.
never materialized.
Okay.
There were probably 2 or 3 students that met with Mr. Brown. And then the next time it was less, and then finally it fizzled.
Could the board get a summary of the exit interview information? We don't need it by person, but whatever data we're finding, can we get a summary report that gives us some information about why those individuals as a group are leaving?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions on 17-18? All right, 18-19.
I will tell you this, one of the greatest reasons, and definitely it's reflected in tonight's agenda, is relocation.
Okay.
Many of our staff members do leave us because they relocate to an area in which it would be far too long to commute.
Got it.
So with regard to 2018-19, again, as I said, we want to increase we want to continue to focus on our catering revenue. We need to continue to increase that. So we want to increase by 10% from the $29,200 that we made this year to about $32,000 next year. We want to continue to secure funding in the 2019-20 budget to purchase enough technology devices, iPads, Chromebooks, and so forth, to ensure a 1-to-1 student-device ratio in grades 6 through 12, which means that we would have a 1-to-1 ratio in preschool through 12th grade. We want to secure funding in the 2019-20 budget to purchase 3 additional buses for the purpose of reducing out-of-district contractor costs. Again, we just went through the toughest part of the school year with regard to busing, and that's September, where we're ironing out a lot of problems, and we still have about 2 or 3 efficiency issues that we're trying to iron out. We rely so heavily on outside contractors. When we met to develop our strategic action plan, one of our major goals was to purchase enough buses so that we would only have to rely about 50% on outside vendors. So again, in keeping with that spirit, that's why we want to continue to purchase new buses. So our goal is to secure enough funding to purchase 3 additional buses. Last year, I believe we purchased 2 large buses and 1 van. Yes. Correct. So we want to continue to, actually 3 buses, I think.
224.
Yeah. I think it was 3 total big buses and 1 van. We also want to increase the amount of money in capital and maintenance reserve accounts by January 1, 2019 in order to fund all existing building renovation projects that we have identified, including, but not limited to, the refurbishing of the boys and girls locker rooms at the middle school, the purchase and installation of new hot water heaters at the high school, and SAMSO. By the way, the SAMSO is underway, right, Mr. Colemansberger? SAMSO, just try to stay up, please. The SAMSO hot water heater, we're starting that pretty soon, right? Good. And reparations to the SAMSO Upper Elementary School roof, as well as the installation of the final partition at the Truman Elementary School. As we've discussed many times before, Truman was built in the 1970s when they had that open concept for educating kids where you put them in one big room and you educate them in the one big room. Obviously, that didn't work. So last year, we began the process of partitioning off those classrooms, and we have one last classroom to do. So we want to make sure that we're able to do that as well. With facilities, we want to complete the renovation of the Sayreville War Memorial High School Athletic Complex. As you know, we replaced the turf field, but now we want to replace the track. And we also want to make sure that the multi-sport field is fixed with regard to the drainage issue that we've had. We want to construct the remaining secure retention vestibules at the Eisenhower, Wilson, Arleth, and Truman Elementary School. If you're not aware, with the additional state aid that we received, we are going to be constructing a secure retention vestibule. They used to be called man-trap doors, but it's no longer politically correct to call them that. But if you were here when we talked about it recently, it's basically 2 sets of doors. You open the first set of doors that brings you into the school from the outside, and then you're immediately met by a campus security monitor who is inside the building and has a window where you would just place your ID in, you'd have a metal detector, the visitor would walk through the metal detector, and you get to the next set of doors. If everything works out, you go through that next set of doors. If things do not work out, they can actually lock you in between the doors until the police get over to the doors. So we're going to be constructing secure retention vestibules at the high school, Samsel, and middle school. This year, we want to be able to secure enough funding to be able to construct them in the rest of our schools for the following year. We also want to develop an approved BOE plan to install solar panels across the district. And finally, we want to utilize the data from the Master District Facility Assessment report that I just mentioned earlier to decide what we are going to do with the Sayreville School. If you've ever had the pleasure to meet with me in my office, you know that the Sayreville School is probably our school in the most need of reparation. However, it, for the most part, is a central administration building. It's not a school. We do have we have 2 preschool classes there that are half-day. But sooner or later, we have to decide whether we're going to put the money necessary into this Sayreville school that is needed, or decide on an alternative plan. Right now, our boiler, I think Jimmy goes downstairs and kicks it a couple of times, and it starts working in the winter. Our windows, I know that in the winter when the wind blows, my hair blows, even though my windows are up. My papers will actually fly off my desk, and my windows are up. So that building is in need of great repair. We have to decide as a school district as to whether we are going to utilize resources and funds to make the reparations there, or to, again, construct an alternative building or come up with an alternative plan. Those are our facilities goals. Moving on to technology, we want to increase the number of instructional classroom devices in order to implement them in a 1-to-1 ratio for grades 4 through 5. That is aligned with the finance goal. So the finance goal is to allocate the funds for it. The technology goal is to get those devices in and implement them and so forth. But this year's goal was actually 4 or 5. So again, thanks to the additional state aid that we received and the hard work by Mr. Glock-Malloy, Mr. Waranowitz, our engineers, our technicians, we were actually able to get 4 and 5 done already. So that goal is actually already complete. We want to continue to upgrade the virtual server infrastructure, wireless access points infrastructure, and network switch infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, we've started that. We purchased a new virtual server. We purchased new switches. We purchased new access points. We've got to continue to do that to continue to upgrade our infrastructure. We also want to deploy a single sign-on solution to all compatible software packages. That basically means that as teachers, no matter what software they go into, as long as it's part of our package, they have one single sign-on. They don't have to remember 13 different usernames and 13 different passwords. We want to budget for funding to provide district staff with access to Staff Technology District Help Desk. We do have technicians in all of our schools, but we would like to have a dedicated staff member that is working our help desk so that parents, staff members, students, if there's a problem, there is a human being at this virtual staff help desk, where they can help them through a variety of different problems. We also want to budget for funding to hire an additional technology engineer and to increase the number of dedicated technology coach positions. Those are certificated staff members in our buildings that help out our staff members with technology issues and so forth, and help with social media and so forth. We want to be able to do that by using certificated staff members by the start of the 2019-20 school year. And finally, we want to form a unified technology, professional development, curriculum, operations, and facilities technology training committee by the end of this school year. In student achievement, we want our students in pre-K through 12th grade to show improvement in their overall literacy, as evidenced by 63% of our general education students in grade 10 meeting or exceeding expectations as measured by the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. Notice I did not say the PARC, because the PARC has changed. It's no longer the PARC, it's the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. And I believe grade 10 is the grade in which they have to pass in order to graduate. Students in the next goal, students in pre-K through 12th grade will show improvement in their overall mathematics skills, as evidenced by 56% of the students in grade 5 meeting or exceeding expectations on the, and I should have said, I put PARC, but I should have said New Jersey Student Learning Assessment. And still got PARC in my mind, I guess. And our third goal, students in pre-K through 12th grade will show growth in their overall literacy and mathematics skills, evidenced by a 2% increase in the number of students who meet the multiple criteria for exiting the elementary academic support program. That elementary academic support program is based on their standardized assessment scores. Students that meet a certain number in terms of criteria, if they did not meet expectations, they get that support. We want to be able to work with those students, accelerate their progress so they exit out of that program by the end of the school year. In terms of culture and climate, we want to increase our employee retention rate again by developing a hiring pipeline through one of our softwares called Frontline Central in order to recruit and hire the most credentialed, proficient, and principled candidates with the tangible and intangible qualities and characteristics that are in alignment with a Sayreville bomber. And I know that's one thing that Mr. Sayak has been working with Dr. Agles on, identifying what is a bomber, what makes up a bomber. And again, we wanted to include that in this goal, and to improve and expedite the hiring process for all new personnel, including substitutes. We want to increase the proficiency, competency, and efficacy of staff by offering more choices in selecting training options for professional development and services, in addition to stress reduction offerings, by providing building-specific professional development as requested by our school improvement panels or committees and or administrators and supervisors. Our next goal would be to increase career advancement opportunities for staff by implementing Cohort 2 of the Aspiring Administrator branch of the Leadership Academy, and by also implementing our Teacher Leader branch, which is something that we've talked a lot about doing, having a branch dedicated to working with our teachers to develop and enhance their leadership skills, not just because they may want to become an administrator, just to expand their leadership capacity. And finally, we want to promote student-led school climate changes that result in cultivation of more inclusive, safe, and connected school communities, and the potential decrease in the incidence of harassment, intimidation, and bullying by expanding the Sayreville Warmville High School Career Academy, and by implementing the Responsive Classroom Character Education Program at the Samsel Upper Elementary School. Previously, it had been implemented at our K-3 schools. This year, we are implementing it at the Samsel Upper Elementary School, as well as implementing the Medal of Honor Character Education Program at the middle school, which was the character education program that they researched and adopted, thanks to the help of Mr. Kubik and the collaboration with Mr. Glahusky and our administrative team over at the middle school. And we also want to implement the Playwork Structured Resource Character Education Program in grades K through 5. I mentioned that earlier. Playworks, if you're not familiar with it, we've talked about this at our Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council meeting. It's a structured recess program. Through the years, we've had, if we collected the data on the number of accidents that occur in the elementary schools, as well as the number of incidences of HIB or just code of conduct violations. I would say about 75% of them occur out at recess. Think about it, you have young children in a small confined area, many of them running around, many of them moving around in an unstructured manner, many of them playing tag or other things that might eventually result in someone pushing somebody too hard, somebody falling down, and so forth. Now what we have is we have a period in time in which the kids go out for resource. They are engaged in structured games that they select, and eventually they facilitate and run those games. We also teach them conflict resolution strategies, the ones that we learned growing up, rock, paper, scissors, and so forth, so that they can settle, conflicts in a way in which no one gets hurt and so forth. So we also want to implement that PlayWorks structured research program in all of our K-3, actually K-5 schools. That's it for our goals. That's it for the goals that we accomplished the previous year. Are there any questions about the goals that we've identified for this year?
Questions on this year's goals? Mrs. Beck?
I don't know if it was this year's goals, but you mentioned the buses and that we're increasing our bus fleet. I know it's something we had always wanted to do. As we increase the fleet, where are we going to locate all these buses?
I was thinking your house.
I couldn't even fit one, so.
Yeah, that's an issue. I mean, we're probably at the area, the space allotment at the high school for the big buses. So, one of the things that we did discuss when we looked at that master facility, assessment was we need now a place to put some of our buses, especially as we continue to expand that fleet. So, yeah, that is one of our top priorities, is to identify a location and a state-of-the-art shop where we can put our buses in, keep them safe, but also repair them with the resources and equipment that our mechanics need. So that is one of our top priorities.
So does that have to be done before these additional
No.
3 are purchased? No.
No.
So you have enough
But
space
we're-
for these 3?
Yeah, but we're cutting it close.
Where are you putting these 3?
The big buses will always be here. The vans will be at Slover.
Slower. Okay, the other question is about the baseball field. Years ago, when we redid that baseball field, we spent a lot of money on it, and it was a drainage problem then. And we had everyone in the world here saying how it was going to be fixed, and we had consultants and the best of everyone, and we really thought it was going to be done. Is there any mechanism, since we're redoing this again, to hold any accountability to either the contractor we hire, the engineer, whoever tells us that the problem's going to be fixed, and then we subsequently find out it's not?
Well, and I hate to be critical of, my predecessors or anybody that worked here, when that was done. But the greatest flaw in what was done previously was that we never contracted the architect or engineer the professional services required after the construction was done to make sure it was done correctly. So the professional services contract with the architect and engineer did not include A, the monitoring of the work, and B, the assessment to make sure it was completed at the level in which it should have been. That was handled by an in-district staff member.
Okay, but we had an engineer and architect
You had
prior.
you had an engineer and architect basically scope out the work that needed to be done, work with us to get the contractors, but then that was it.
The design wasn't flawed, the implementation was what
Implementation was flawed. It was the work that needed to be done was not implemented in a manner in which was specified in the design.
Okay.
And no one was there of a certain expertise level to monitor what they were doing and to assure that when they had finished, they had done what was specified in the plans.
And that would have been the job of someone hiring the architect or the engineer to come back? Is that what you're saying?
It's all part of the professional services. So for instance, you just approved, I think it was $18,000 for CME to do this for us. That's included in those fees, is for them to monitor the subcontractors when they're out there, and then to assess to make sure before we pay them that they've completed the job at the satisfaction level that they feel is appropriate with what is in the designs.
Okay, so now that we have that in place, suppose in a few years we have drainage issues, who's accountable for it? Is it the contractor, the engineer, the person who signs off? Do we have any recourse?
You get a 1-year warranty.
1 year.
And, we've researched this. We researched it with our attorneys. You're talking about land. You're talking about soil. You're talking about earth, which, can reposition and so forth. But that wasn't the problem. It wasn't because the land shifted or settled. It was because it was not done correctly. And an example of this is and Jimmy, you may need to jump in if I say this incorrectly, the infield was supposed to be at a higher level than the outfield. Correct, Jimmy? and it wasn't. The infield was actually lower than the outfield. So basically, all the water was coming in, just going, draining right into the infield. And what was supposed to happen is, the outfield, it was supposed to, basically that water was supposed to run off into basically a swale, an underground swale, that would go into a drainage pipe.
So is
But
CME
because
telling
the
you
pit-
now that it's going to work with
Yes.
whatever they're going to do, and the
Yes.
drainage will work?
They say it's going to work. They said if it would have been constructed in the way in which it was designed, it would have worked. The water would have drained off of the infield into the outfield, into this swale that was created, and then taken away by a drainage pipe.
And it will also be okay for the field hockey portion?
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions on 1819? Mr. Bishada?
Dr. Labby, on the facilities development of installation of solar panels, Mr. Sack, you're familiar with this. About 8 years ago or better, we had Rubino DeCaro come in and they did a survey for the district. Cost the district $56,000 for that survey of putting solar panels in. And what happened is, back then, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sack, what happened is the STREX wound up zero for, it's like a rebate for clean energy. One of the issues that comes up right now, especially in this area, is that people either buy or lease. And I think what the district should do is see if we can find the Rubino DeCaro study, pass it on to our architect and engineers of record right now, and also look at the possibility of purchase or lease, which is best feasible for the district.
Thank you, Mr. Bishada. We actually had that conversation last night during our Finance and Infrastructure Committee meeting, and there are two different roads that you can take with regard to that. You can do a power purchase agreement, and in a power purchase agreement, the contractor goes ahead and constructs everything for you, but they take the ESIP money, they take the SREC money, and they also take your energy. So it's not, yes, you can get that done, and yes, you can get a reduction in your electricity, probably about 20% maybe.
I think that's probably the minimum goal.
Yeah, but that's about it. Now, if you construct it yourself, yes, the district would have to fund that, but we would get ESIP, and what does ESIP stand for, Ms. Hill?
It's the Energy Savings Improvement Plan.
Energy, so we would get ESIP discounts or reimbursement?
It's not really a reimbursement. The way that
Savings?
It's savings. So whatever you pay in the lease purchase would be offset by your savings in the electricity and gas or whatever.
So we would get ESIP savings in the construction. Then if there is any value to the SREX, we would get that. But more importantly, that energy that we produce would be ours. And we could sell that energy back to whatever energy company that we decide we're going to sell it to, and make money there too. So
And we asked the question last night about the SREC stability. When we initially did it, SRECs were selling for $600 an SREC.
Correct.
They went down to about 100 or a little below 100, which all of a sudden made these projects not as generous as we initially envisioned. But the architect said yesterday they've been holding around 120, 125 for a while.
And also the efficiency of the panels today, at that time they were about 5 to 7 years. Now I believe the rating goes as high as 20 years.
Right.
With the efficiency of them. So, it's something to look at, because I've been approached about the leasing option on my own home, and I've rejected it because of the fact that, like you had mentioned, I'm actually losing as a homeowner. I'm providing them with an income where the money should come to me as a homeowner.
and that's the way we feel. We want if there is money in SREX, we want that. But we definitely want the savings from the ESIPs, and more importantly, we want that energy. We want to make the money from that energy. However, there is a catch to all this. The best place for us to install those solar panels is on our roofs. So part of this plan would have to be to make sure that our roofs are repaired at a level in which we can put solar panels on them. And our roofs are in need. We need to make reparations to our roofs. I know there's a portion of the high school roof, the Samsel roof, and I believe there's only 2 roofs that they found didn't need work in that whole master plan. So in order to construct or install the solar panels, we would first need to address the roofs. And that would be included in that plan that we asked you to approve.
Any other questions on 1819? Dr. Labby, the only other thing I have, and I don't know when this would be appropriate, maybe it's during the actual budget level presentations. We did 2 years ago, we started implementing the standards-based report cards.
Yes.
If we could get some type of high-level analysis that shows, okay, what data are we getting out of the standards-based report cards in terms of how our students are meeting all of the standards, and then align that to the park and educate us on what differences, if any, exist and what programs are using to close those gaps.
I think we can do that. By the end, yeah.
And again, at a high level, I'm not looking at a,
Well, since this is now this is our second year, K through 5, using standardized-based report cards, I would recommend that we provide you that information at the end of this year. Once we get our park assessments in, then compare our 2019 our New Jersey Student Learning Assessment results with our standards-based report card results.
Okay.
So we could probably provide you that in the summer.
Okay.
Once we get those standardized assessment results. Usually, I probably would say we could probably shoot for that August meeting. That's probably when we'd have reliable results from standardized assessments.
Because the first year we did it, we only did K2, correct?
We implemented with K2 2 years ago and 3-5 last year.
Gotcha. So we don't have enough data where the park is administered in order to.
Yeah, I think this third year is the telling year.
Got it. Okay.
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else? So I'm going to pass the baton off now to Ms. Hill. So she's going to briefly go through the state of the school's finance and infrastructure.
Good evening. Some of this might be a little bit repetitive from what Dr. Labby has already presented. For instance, the Arlith windows. So we finished the phase 1 of the Arlith windows last year, and we're starting phase 2 this year. We also last year completed the Truman partitions, the A cluster and B cluster. They were temporary partitions, and we put permanent walls up. And then in Wilson, we renovated the student bathrooms. We started the project, I want to say last year or maybe even the year before, Jim? The year before. So last year we were able to renovate the additional student bathrooms in Wilson, and it was done by our in-house maintenance staff, and they did a wonderful job if anybody's seen them. We've done a lot of concrete work last year. So in the middle school, we repaired sidewalks, and also in the vein of the security measures, we've replaced doors. And at the high school last year, we unexpectedly replaced a hot water heater. So that was done. And then district-wide, there's a lot of things that we do every single year. We paint classrooms, we replace blinds, we refinish the gym floors. There's rotating cycles for when these things get done. But then in addition to that, we have a wonderful custodial staff. If you come in the summer, you'll see everything in the hallways, but then the classrooms get cleaned and they're absolutely beautiful. We also were able to purchase new maintenance vehicles last year. If anybody saw our old maintenance vehicles, the blue mini buses, they were much needed. And we also, as Dr. Labby already mentioned, we increased our catering revenue last year, improved services between 20 and 21%. So that's what we did last year in facilities and finance. And then our goals this year. A lot of these, again, are in line with what Dr. Labby had already mentioned. In Wilson, we finished the bathrooms. So we renovated all of the student bathrooms in Wilson as well as the faculty bathrooms. Not the individual classroom bathrooms, but all of the ones that you would find in the hallways. Arlith, we're doing the windows in the next wing, and it came in under budget, which is very exciting. And in Eisenhower, again, we're going with the doors. We replaced a door frame. And Truman, we're planning to do the last cluster that's left in Truman, which is in C7. So again, it's actually a very small partition. It's not very high, and we want to put in a full wall so that those classrooms are separated. We're looking to do that with our capital reserve funds that we're putting in with our June 30th audit. Again, at the UES, we did more concrete work. We repaired the sidewalk for handicap accessibility, and we added handicap accessibility to the playground. We also repaired a dumpster pad, and with the additional state aid we received this year, we're looking to create a bus parking area, because if anybody has been at the UES at dismissal time, it is not always conducive to students exiting safely and efficiently. And we're also adding the security vestibules that Dr. Labby had mentioned. Again, more concrete work at the middle school. We also replaced additional doors at the middle school, and we're doing the security vestibule there as well. We're also planning on doing the boys and girls locker room with money that we put in our maintenance reserve from our June 30th audit. At the high school, the turf field has already been replaced, and it, again, looks wonderful. We had a great contractor come in. The work went really smoothly. We're looking to do the baseball field improvements. That's actually on our agenda tonight for the board's approval. It's for the engineer to actually do the design work and the bidding process. And the water heater replacements at the high school as well. I think, Jim, are there two more? Two more water heaters that need to be replaced at the high school. And the security vestibule there as well. We still have our regular district-wide projects that we always do, that a lot happens in the summer. And then in our finance world, we are in the well, we just finished the accounting conversion for our accounting software, but we still have our payroll and personnel software to convert. So that should be done by February. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
Any comments on 1819? Only comment I have is with regard to the finance implementation, in particular the payroll software. It must go well.
It will. It's actually already underway. It's been underway for the last month or so. So we do that well in advance. They already have got our contract information as well as all of our guides, the sick days and all of that. And then it's just the last thing is the position control roster.
Okay, because the last time we had an issue with payroll, I directed your predecessor to go get a box of starter checks, and he and I were going to start writing them out manually.
Right.
So
yeah, no, we don't
want this to be
anticipate
smooth.
any issues.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, do you want me to do the calendar too?
Oh, if you do it, just show it. Yeah.
Sure. Then this is our budget calendar.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, and we've already spoken to the schools, so it's already open and accessible to them. And we'll start our presentations really in January. The food services presentation we'll do in December, but that's not really tied to our board-approved budget.
And then the biggest change to the calendar is when we provide the board with the preliminary balanced budget, and that'll be in January as opposed to December in the past.
And with regard to the calendar, I think we got good feedback from the board regarding the presentations that the schools made last year. Do we want to continue that same process? Well, okay. So rinse and repeat.
Anything else?
Good evening, everyone. A few quick points on our technology department and some of our current state, where we've been and where we're going. 17-18, Dr. Labby covered much of this during his goals presentation of what we've accomplished, but just a quick overview, an HIV management system, additional analytics components to our SGOs, evaluations and lesson plans, visitor management systems in all the buildings. Last year we installed a new firewall and security. We put a secondary internet connection and a secondary WAN network around our buildings so that we have multiple points of failure so that our buildings are not ever down, or hopefully not ever down from internal or external connections. We had a number of new copiers last year. We expanded some of our academic software programs. We did significant upgrades to our media centers and our computer labs. We installed several interactive flat panels around the district. We had about 1,200 devices added in the 17-18 school year overall, which brought us last year to our 1-to-1 ratio in grades 1 to 3. Implementation of standards-based report cards on the technology side. Also have that on the curriculum side. We put a paperless form system in place last year. We went and purchased our new student information system. We did increase some of our security cameras, and we focused on putting PA speakers in Slover as part of an emergency management plan so that staff and students in Slover were able to react to lockdowns and evacuations. For 18-19, much of this is still in progress. For us in technology, a lot of our work is done over the summer, just like the maintenance department does much of their work. And coming into the school year, once our staff and students return, that's where we get to test out a lot of our systems. We get to train on a lot of our systems. So we're still in the in-progress phase for a lot of this, but we're well on our way to full implementation. OnCourse, our new student information system, has been out now since August, essentially. We've run a variety of different training programs and procedures. We've had full training programs on the days before school, before our students arrive. We've had after-school trainings. We've had department meeting trainings. drop-in trainings. The professional development department has been hard at work on running out on-course trainings. Purchased, configured, and deployed new networking switches and wireless access points. These were installed by the end of the summer, and we've been working on configurations and resolving some outstanding issues with those as we've moved into the school year, which I believe Mr. Ranowitz made me aware that as him walking in the building tonight, we believe everything is now fixed online and running as designed. One-to-one devices, pre-K through 5, as Dr. Labby mentioned. Purchased and configured, migrated a new virtual server infrastructure over the summer. A backup server appliance is actually on the board agenda for tonight, so that we have all of our server data backed up and secured, both on-site and out in the cloud. Implementation of an ID card process for students at the middle school and the high school. This is something we've been researching since the summer. We're evaluating several more companies and hoping to have this in place by January. Purchase, configure, and deploy video-enabled security door stations. This was done over the summer. So now when any visitors or guests come to the doors of any of our schools, our campus monitors and our main offices are able to see these people as they buzz in, able to verify identifications before they're even into the entryways. Purchase, configure, and deploy additional surveillance cameras, which is on our list of items to accomplish this year as part of our increased security goals. Pilot a learning management system at the high school. That should be rolling out in the next several weeks. Purchase, configure, and deploy an emergency management platform. This is something we've been working on since the summer. Our target date for implementing that is in January. That will provide our teachers and our administrators with a great wealth of information on our emergency management plans, evacuation drills, procedures, reunification. So a major step forward in that area. Purchase, train, and implement walk-through metal detectors in all of our buildings. Train multiple administrative staff at the NJDOE School Safety Training Program, to which we have sent several of our staff members over the summer and throughout the course of the last months to that training to make them essentially security experts as administrators within DOE procedures and within school procedures. Media Center and computer lab upgrades continue so that they are constantly refreshed and moving forward. Looking forward into our future years, our door access control system is one additional piece of security equipment that we're looking to move forward with going into our next budget cycle. There is always a need for increased and replacement security cameras, and flat panels in our classrooms. We are targeting one-to-one devices in our middle school and our high school. We are hoping to expand our learning management platform beyond the high school to other grades. We would like to target someone in the district to be a designated school safety specialist. And then into our future years, our Samsung Chromebooks, while they are still upline, they're still running. We are looking to continue to replace those as we move forward with new devices, same with our iPad 2s and some of our older printers. And with all these technology changes, we are looking at the future focus to additional technology support staff as well as additional technology instructional staff to focus on the two different sides of our technology. Any questions?
Mr. Bishada?
Smart boards,
Yes.
are they as efficient as they were years ago in a classroom for teaching today?
I would say that we've focused a lot more in the last couple cycles on interactive flat panels. They're a little bit more efficient, a little bit better designed, and they last a whole lot longer. Many of our early generation smart boards in our classrooms today have really started to hit their end of life expectancy. They're not as touch effective as they used to be. Unfortunately, over budget cycles year to year to year, the goal of getting a smart board or a like device in every classroom, we've now hit the point where those numbers have been reduced every year so much that we now need to start replacing ones that are in, and we've still never finished putting all of them in every classroom. The technology committee and the technology department are looking at some alternatives that might end up being a better avenue to go down. Some options, our high school math department is very big right now into using surfaces with projectors to interact with the boards on the wall, which is a traditional whiteboard where the touch-enabled capability is on a device, like the one in front of Mr. Callahan or the one in front of myself. So there are a lot of options, but unfortunately, that has often not been a priority in our budget cycles year to year, and they are costly devices. So we are at a point where we are balancing replacing the old with still getting new technology into the classrooms.
Thank you.
Mrs. Becker?
The question I have more is the current year than it is for the future, and it's all nice what you want to do in the future, but I'm glad to see we're finally going to get one-to-one devices, and I've always been a big proponent of more technology. However,
Hopefully.
hopefully, I thought it was a...
Well, we have to get through this budget cycle.
Okay. But the problem, and I see it every day, I constantly see emails. The system is down, this isn't working, we're trying to fix it. The complaints that I've been hearing on how things are running slowly, and what is the plan to fix what we have before we move forward into the new?
So, and I believe you're referring to most of our current the last couple weeks. And what I would say to that is we did a complete network overhaul over the summer. Every switch, every access point. And one of the common misconceptions of working in a school environment is that it's like your home and not like an enterprise office. And that's simply not true. So the concept of it doesn't work, let's unplug the router, let's reboot the computer, and that's going to solve everything isn't always the case. The most recent set of problems were complex and layered. Hundreds of access points, dozens of switches, servers, components. It takes a long time to diagnose and troubleshoot those problems. As I had mentioned to the board and to the administration, we solved all of those pressing issues as of tonight.
So tomorrow, when the staff comes in, their emails will be quick, they'll be able to get online, they'll be able to do their lessons without any problems? Is that what you're saying?
Most of that was resolved today.
Today?
Mr. Hochran can speak for that as a technician in one of our buildings. The remaining issues that we had today were with dropped Wi-Fi connections, which were resolved as of about 7 o'clock tonight.
Okay, and the virtual servers, are they all complete as of today? Like everything's been implemented? I mean...
That was complete over the summer.
Okay, so are all the problems rectified and everything smooth?
With virtual servers, there was no problem
no
with that
problems
upgrade.
with them, okay.
You're referring to the virtual desktops.
The virtual desktops,
which
okay,
there wasn't
sorry.
problem so much with the virtual desktops as with the communication protocols with the network upgrade.
Okay, no, I thought I saw an email that said there was a problem with the virtual communicating or something.
That's the end user experience. So if you're an end user in the district, your experience with the device is the computer you're using. So if there's a problem, it appears that it's that device. When in reality, it was a lot of the back-end infrastructure that was upgraded over the summer that was the cause of the problem, to which your end device was the symptom of the problem.
Right, but if I worked in the district and I was the end user, that's what I want to see, what worked, that it works, and what you do behind the scenes. So is whatever you're doing, whatever you want to call it, a virtual network, a virtual server, a virtual desktop, so you're saying as of today, all of these issues have been rectified?
Yes,
based on
your statement is exactly the root cause of the problem. We're constantly troubleshooting.
Right.
And the end user is where we get a lot of our resources. And that transition between my computer doesn't work and what we have to decide what is actually the problem, that is part of our diagnostic process. So again, you're right. As the end user, you're concerned with what does that computer do on the day. And it's not always as easy as let's restart the computer, let's replace the computer, because there's a lot that goes into that technology to deliver the end product to your desktop.
Mrs. Bacco, you mentioned an email?
Yeah,
I didn't send an email with regard to that.
No, I see them from...
And nor did anybody else in our administrative team.
No, it says technology. It comes from technology. It says, I always see those emails that comes from technology.
There was no email from the technology department
3 weeks
referencing
ago,
that.
there was...
Yeah, and they say, well, we're sorry, the system's down, we're sorry, it's running slow, we're sorry, we're working.
Not regarding the virtual desktop.
Not specifically, no.
No, the emails come from not a person, it says a department on them.
Right, but that wasn't specific to the virtual desktops, that was to the network.
I thought I read one that said something about the virtual, that's all. Maybe it wasn't a desktop, maybe it was a server, but I just remember the word virtual, because I remember that was something that we had just done, so I thought that maybe it wasn't up and running yet.
I could be wrong, I don't believe that was...
I don't know, there were a lot of emails, I don't remember.
The virtual desktops were never an issue.
Again, to the end user, that would appear to have been the issue,
Right.
but that was not the core.
But the crux of the problem coming from the technology department would never have been communicated that because that wasn't the problem.
Correct.
No, the issue, to put it simply, the issue I have is, are the teachers and the staff going to be able to come in and get their work done? Is the
With
computers
these
working?
global
As of
issues
today,
that we had the
those
last
issues are-
couple weeks, yes.
Okay.
Does that say every technology problem in the district is always going to be resolved every day you come in? Absolutely not.
No, it just seems like this year we've had a lot more than I've seen in the past.
We replaced every single piece of networking equipment over the course of 4 weeks in the summer. That's a massive project. And at the end of the summer, all of the technology appeared to be functioning fine. When the staff and students returned and the load was put on the system, problems started to occur that we worked with our internal and external representatives to resolve those problems as quickly as possible. But again, it's a lot of diagnostic work before we could put a solution in place. And as of the last several days, solutions have been going into place which have fixed individual pieces of that problem. Again, it wasn't all one problem. And as of about 7 o'clock tonight, the last piece was in place. And the last piece was for bring your own devices.
Okay.
All of our district devices were fixed prior to tonight.
I doubt it, but is there any way for us to simulate load, like when we do this type of massive upgrade over the summer? I mean, you know, you may test it with, 50 administrators in the district over the summer and it works great, and then when you bring 6,000 students in and 800 additional staff, all of a sudden there's an issue. Is there any way, technology software out there, that would simulate the load that we would place on our network?
You can always run simulations. Mike, I don't know if you have a specific software that...
And I don't know, I'm asking.
I mean, the best way to test a solution is usually to put the load on the networks, but you also have a flip side to that. In a company, a massive international company, you've got deployment teams, you've got multiple sites, you've got reserve equipment where you can run a lot of this, which is resources we simply don't have. Plus, we're doing it all in the span of the summer, which this type of project in the corporate world would have been done over the period of probably multiple years, not the span of one summer.
Well, could you have implemented it, in stages? Would that have helped the problem?
One of the reasons that we went with this route was to leverage federal funding that wasn't going to be available. So
So
yes,
it was money.
it could have been done in stages, but at a far greater cost to the taxpayer.
And plus, I guess the benefit and impact of this is doing it all at once, because if you're replacing your entire network, the speed and the benefits of that happen when you replace your entire network.
You would also have varied services between buildings. So you'd have some buildings that are operating at far greater efficiency and some running at far lesser efficiency, which again, we're looking to have an equal service provided to all of our staff and students.
Okay. Any other questions on technology? State of the schools, human resources.
And before Dr. Aguilis gets up there, I do want to publicly commend and thank Mr. Glock-Malloy, Mr. Waranowitz, and their technology team of engineers and technicians for all that they have been doing since the summer. If you take a good look at Michael, you'll see the dark circles under his eyes. I mean, these are people that haven't slept. Mr. Glock-Malloy as well. People don't realize that too, the amount of work that those two individuals have put in place to make sure that they solve this problem. And it's far more complex than people realize. Obviously they couldn't test the resources while kids and staff members are in school. So they're trying to do a lot of that when they're not here. But that means they're working round the clock in order to do that. So you guys rock as far as I'm concerned. Thank you guys very much.
Credit the team as well. Unlike the corporate environment where you have dedicated deployment teams, the same people that are fixing your Chromebook keys, that are setting up on-course, that are deploying the software in the classrooms, are the same people that are fixing your critical issues. It's the same dozen or so people that are working for essentially 7,000 users, which is a massive ratio difference than you would have anywhere in the private sector.
And not to mention all the other softwares that we introduced this year. So they've managed to not only pretty much rehaul the infrastructure, but implement every key software, including the Systems 3000, including OnCourse, Achieve 3000, and every key software that we depend upon. They've managed to do that as well. as this?
Counting myself, 12 people to 7,000, 1,000 staff and 6,000 plus students. So, there is a component there that when we're repairing these core issues, we also have to focus on the day-to-day, because the student with the individual Chromebook that's not working is as important as the entire building that's not functional.
Right, and we're here for the students to get their education.
Absolutely.
But it took an extraordinary effort, so thank you guys.
Dr. Aguilas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll go through it quickly. We put into place procedures to expedite teachers placement into professional teacher process. What that allows us to do is, for alternate route teachers, it allows us to place them in programs quicker. For other teachers, it allows us sometimes, as you know, we're doing the mad dash in August to hire folks. This allows my office to expedite their certification sometimes. So that was one of the goals that we put into place. We established a partnership with New Jersey colleges and universities for placement of student teachers and participation in job fairs on the fairs held on campus. It's allowed us to do a number of things. It's allowed us to act as mentors for some teachers. It has allowed us to post our jobs on some of their websites, sometimes at a fee, sometimes for free. So we're developing some partnerships. It's become a lot easier when you see the update from the Personnel Committee from this evening. You'll see a list of the number of student teachers that we've been able to place in district for September and October of this year. So we've been able to start speaking to colleges in regard to getting their teachers at job fairs and opening up different positions for them as the needs arise here. We trained in total of 1,066 faculty and staff members through Sayreville University. Training workshops were up from 606 during the 2016-2017 school year. And as it's noted up there, the number may include faculty and staff who attended multiple sessions. This is without a doubt due to the extraordinary work that the supervisor has done, Nina Obrick, as well as Barbara DeSantis. They've done a number of innovative things, including, as Dr. Labby mentioned before, the drop-ins, which basically means that a teacher who's gone to Sayreville University and has seen, let's say, on-course training, they leave and they'll call Barbara or they'll email Mrs. Obrick and say, I just don't feel 100% confident. Can you come and see me during my prep? And Ms. DeSantis, 9 out of 10 times, will show up and work with either that individual teacher or a couple of teachers during their prep period. So it really gives us that sustained professional development, which is one of the things that we've been looking forward to doing in Sayreville University. We kicked off Parent University this year, and Mrs. Obrick has threatened bodily harm if I call it PU ever again. So it is Parent University, which is our newest section of Sayreville University. Quick commercial, we have a presentation on October 25th in this building regarding the opioid epidemic. It is open to adults, so we're hoping that we'll see more parents at Parent University. Mr. Glock-Malloy did one in September on HIB, and we think that slowly but surely the word is getting out there, and we're going to start seeing more and more parents educated on the things that are going on in the district that are important to us as well as important to them and their students, their children. We successfully implemented the Leadership Academy. That was Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Gentile, who passed last year, really helped kick that off. With Mr. Gentile's passing, we've added Mrs. Grossman and Mrs. Obrick to the team, and Mrs. Grossman had a heart attack, by the way, when Dr. Labby was pointing to me that I was up. She thought she had to speak. But we...
she's next.
Okay. We have a very solid team. We learned a lot last year with the folks that went through the program, the feedback they gave us, and we have some new changes that are going on for the second cohort, which we think is going to be that much better. For this year, we're developing a hiring pipeline through Frontline Central. As some of you know, I went to a 3-day workshop this year that was directed through Frontline, that was given through Frontline Central. And one of the things that it will allow us to do is to streamline the process of hiring at all levels, so that the people who need to see the paperwork as quickly as possible in order to get the best people in front of us as soon as possible happens. So the paperwork that needs to go to payroll will go to payroll, paperwork that needs to go to me or to my secretary, etc., or to Jimmy if it's for maintenance, we'll get there a lot faster. Our second Leadership Academy will begin October 30th. Like I mentioned before, we're very excited because we made some new changes. We think we're going to be more hands-on. One of the things that we're very grateful to is Mr. Glahusky at the middle school. Attended last year, had an idea of what we're trying to do, and working with him at the middle school, he's allowing opportunities for his teachers that we've been talking about to implement in Leadership Academy. So we thank the middle school for that. We also started this last year, and we're moving forward with providing building-specific professional development. It was our philosophy last year that each building, although we're doing certain things in unison with the Encores and a number of other projects, each building has their own needs, and some are more are higher priority than others. So we're trying to do just like we would do with a student, where we would give them individualized attention. We're doing that with a building. We're asking our school improvement committees to work with us to tell us what they feel their buildings need through faculty meetings and meetings with the administration. And we're trying to align their professional development with the needs that they've discussed with us. Any questions for me?
Questions for Dr. Aguilas?
I just have a quick question. The number you quoted, 1,066, does that include outside faculty, or is that just Sayreville?
That would just be Sayreville.
Other questions for Dr. Aguilas? Dr. Shediak, you're up. Yep.
And naturally, these slides will be a part of the Board of Education slideshow that will be posted on the website and in TalkSoup.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully my voice will hold out throughout this whole presentation.
Thank you for a phenomenal presentation.
No, I'm required by law to give you this presentation. Actually, tonight's the deadline for it. October 16th is the deadline. We are required to report on our standardized assessment results. Okay, the state requires us to do that. Now, the standardized assessments, particularly PARC, is just one small piece of how we measure student achievement. So here I have a chart of the results of the PARC English Language Arts from this past spring of 2018. And there's, for each grade level, there are 3 different sets of data. There is, the green bar is the national scores. The second one is the state scores, and the final one, the blue one, are the Sayreville scores. Okay, now this is just for the spring of 2018 in English Language Arts. We have 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. As you can see, in most cases, Sayreville is exceeding both the state and the national averages on these scores. And as we move through the presentation, I do have it broken down into subgroups so you get a better picture, but this is just overall total students. You notice a drop in 11th grade. Students by that time have most likely met their graduation requirement, so they don't have a really big stake in how they do at that point. Okay, here's a comparison of our English Language Arts scores from the 2015 through 2018 results. And this again is broken down by grade level. Okay, and as you can see, in most cases, if we're looking at the 4-year span, we have made increases. There are ups and downs each year, variations. It's different groups of students that are taking the assessment. Okay, but this is the percentage passing for each of the 4 years in each of the grade levels. And, you know, these numbers don't tell the whole story. I mean, we had one of our elementary schools in 3rd grade in 1 year had an 18% increase in their English language arts scores. So, although we're looking at the big picture here, when you look at the individual numbers, there are a lot of stories there. Okay. Here are our various subgroups. This is by race. We have the first group is the Asian students, again broken out over 4 years. This is all English language arts. We have Black, Hispanic, multiple races, and the white students.
So in every single subgroup, we're up over a 4-year period?
Yes, yes. Here is again by program. The first group is free and reduced lunch students. The second group is students with a 504 plan. The third group is LEP. Those are ELL students. Our special ed students and our general education students. And again, except for the students with the 504, all of our students have shown growth over the past 4 years.
Do we have any insight as to what's driving the trend on the 504? Because, I mean, the special ed has shown growth, and I would expect the special ed to be more challenging than the students with 504s.
It all depends, really. No, and that's something that we do have to take a look at.
Okay. Could that just be a function of us moving students along the spectrum? You're pushing more into a mainstream environment. Would that have any effect on that? Are we looking at the same? I know we're not looking at the same kids, but are we looking at the same types of children in that category over the 4 years, or have the changes we've made in special ed shifted the composition of those groups?
If I had it, you know, I don't want to speak too much without looking at the data, but I think that over the past 4 years, we've had far more children receiving 504 services than in the past.
Got it.
And that could be a contributing factor to that.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, here we go to our math scores. Again, this is overall. This is just the spring of 2018, comparing our scores to the nation and to the state.
So Dr. Shediak, if I may,
Sure.
Why does it seem like every slide, 8th grade, just drops precipitously?
It's in 8th grade with the math. The majority of our students in 8th grade are taking Algebra 1.
Okay.
Okay, so they're reflected in the Algebra 1 numbers. The students who are taking the regular 8th grade math class are students who struggle more in math.
Okay.
Okay, we are, the vast majority of our students are taking Algebra 1. We are also looking at, we've changed up the 8th grade math curriculum a little bit so that it's more aligned with the items on the assessment too. Okay, here's our comparison over 4 years at the various grade levels. Again, they go up and down from year to year. Here are the math scores broken out by the racial subgroups over the 4 years. These have remained fairly consistent in the math. Here's our math scores by program. Again, free and reduced lunch, 504, ELL students, special ed, and our general education. And these are the total students in grades 3 through 11. Okay, this one might be a little hard to see. I don't know why it's so dark. But this is by gender. The chart on the left is English language arts. The chart on the right is math.
We've got a good opportunity for girls in STEM programs based upon our math performance over the last 4 years.
Yes, we do. It goes a little bit the opposite of what you might think. Because traditionally people think that the males are stronger in the math.
Is that common through other districts too, with the math? Do you know, with the gender?
I'm not sure, but I can, that's
I'm just
something we can
curious.
certainly look at. Okay, another measure besides the park is our AP scores. Very happy with the AP scores. As you know, several years ago, we started to require that every student who takes an AP course takes the AP exam, and the district pays for the AP exam for the student. There were some concerns when we first began this that students would not enroll in the AP courses because maybe they didn't want to take the exam. But as you can see, our enrollment in the course, the AP courses has increased. It was up to 393 students last year, up from, at one point it was as low as 322. There were 358 exams, and 246 of the students had scores of 3 or above. Most colleges do accept scores of 3 and above for college credit. So that's kind of the benchmark that we look at. And 69% of our scores this past year were at 3 or above. And that's been steadily increasing every year since we implemented.
And there's twice as many students taking
Correct.
that assessment.
Right, and that was another concern that we had when we implemented that. Were we going to have students who were taking the test and just really not being perhaps totally prepared for it, or just taking the test because they had to? So we're pleased that they are doing well on that. Okay, our SAT scores. Again, this is another benchmark to look at for how we're doing. Okay, 2 years ago they changed the SAT test, so that's why they're a little bit different. But if we compare it to last year, we made some really nice increases. We have it broken down by students who say they are planning to go to a 4-year college and students who are planning to go to a 2-year college. So if you notice, our scores went up. The math score actually went up like 13 points from last year for the 4-year students. Went down a little bit for the 2-year students. But overall, it did increase for the total students.
And both are well above the state average.
Right, and the state average, which is on the bottom, for the verbal is 530, and for the math is 526, and we were at 543 and 552. Okay, and we actually just received this report this afternoon, so Dr. Labby said, why don't we include this here? So this is the trends for our 5-year ACT scores. The ACT is a different college entrance exam. We don't have a whole lot of students who take that. Last year we had 64 students out of the class of 2018. But if you see, we do score above the state average. And it's broken down into several subject areas: English, math, reading, science, and the composite, which is an average of all of those.
And again, in each tested area, we're above state.
We're above state average in each tested area. And the ACT also prepares a report. They look at whether or not our students are ready for college. And this was reported by them that they feel Sayreville, 80% of the Sayreville students who took the ACT are prepared for college, as opposed to 79% statewide. College algebra felt really good about this, especially because the algebra park isn't necessarily where we would like it to be, but 75% are students who took the ACT were deemed ready for college algebra. Again, exceeding the state average. With biology and social science, we were right at the state average. And meeting all four, we were a little bit above the state average. So again, these are just some of the standardized tests. It's not the whole picture of how our students are doing, but it is an important part of it. Okay, some of the different things, the different initiatives that we had last school year that impacted our student achievement. Standard-based grading, which we actually brought up to grades 3 through 5. Fontes and Pinnell Classroom, the reading system, we did in actually, that should say K1 last year. We started an ELL tutorial program after school for high school and middle school students, where they could come in 2 days a week and work with an ELL teacher, maybe with some help on their homework or anything that they needed extra support on. We had 25 new and revised curriculum guides, and we're still working on many more at this point. We purchased a lot of new science materials in K through 5. We implemented SIOP, Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, to support English language learners. Sayreville University and Mrs. Grossman were very instrumental in this, where we have 2 of our ELL teachers who were certified to train other teachers in this protocol, have been running classes for our teachers to help them support the ELL students in the regular classroom. And it also allows us flexibility as far as scheduling those students, too. Last year we had a new sequence of high school science courses. Most of the students are taking physics in 9th grade instead of physical science that we had in the past. It's been made mention by some people, some of the other speakers, about the high school academies. We had the FACT for the future teachers and educators, and the Sayreville Business Academy. And we implemented Playworks in our elementary schools last year. So looking ahead, and this is just a small piece of some of the things we're working on this school year. We have LLI, Level Literacy Intervention, in the academic support classes. It's a very structured program where those students are receiving instruction 4 to 5 days a week to help us achieve that goal of exiting more students from the program. Achieve 3,000 in grades 3 through 5. I think some of the other people mentioned that. That's it's an online program, and it's nonfiction reading at a student's level. we hired a new teacher for a new position at the middle school, at SAMSL, an academic support math teacher, okay, which I think we really needed, and we're hoping to add some more next year at the elementary levels and at SAMSL. We had a number of students who needed to pass the Algebra 1 exam, but they had passed the class, so Mrs. Maharana designed some online modules, and then we had students retake the Algebra 1 Park this summer, and about a third, about 40 of those students actually passed it over the summer. They worked independently, online, came in for a little bit of tutoring and worked with teachers, and then they took the Park exam over the summer. For this year, we have new ELL materials in the middle school, responsive classroom in all kindergarten through 5th grade schools. New Jersey Teacher to Teacher is coaching the teachers in literacy in all the K-5 schools. We just found out last week that Mrs. O'Connor received a BASF Science Education grant for here at the high school. They're going to develop a greenhouse with that, and they're all excited about that. And Rutgers University Behavioral Health Care for this year at SAMSL and the middle school. So those are just a few of the things that we are working on this school year. Any questions?
Questions?
Questions on the academics? Okay, next.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Shediak.
So before we get to the superintendent's report, I just want to make some general comments. This is a phenomenal state of the schools report. And I say that knowing that Dr. Labby promised me this was going to be 20 minutes. But I say that because...
I really did.
He really did, yes. I didn't realize that was 20 minutes only for his portion. But I say that because when you look at, I think, and Dr. Labby and I discussed this, the definition of a bomber, one of the things he said to me was that his definition of a bomber is a student who fully immerses themselves in every aspect of our educational program here in Sayreville. And when you look at this report card on virtually every aspect of our educational performance in Sayreville, you really have a phenomenal report as to how we're doing. You've got areas of breakthrough when you look at English language arts and the fact that every single subgroup has grown over the last 4 years. You've got some areas of opportunity. You're always going to have areas of opportunity. We talked about the 504 piece. Okay, we need to dig into it. That'll be an area for commendation in another year or two as we tap it. But it really represents a phenomenal effort on the part of this entire district team. The school board, central office, the principals, the supervisors, the teachers, and all of the support staff. And I'm really proud to be a part of a program that over the last 4 years continues to grow in every way imaginable. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to commend all of our staff and give all of you a round of applause for the work you do on behalf of our students every day. Dr. Labby? Actually, it's not even your turn yet.
And we don't have it on the agenda, but we'll get Mr. Esposito in there before my report to do the highlights.
Yes.
Unless you don't want to.
You want me to be, I'll be real quick.
Yeah,
Okay. Now we have, let's see. Okay, congratulations once again to the perfect attendance, everyone who received that award. Just a couple things real quick. Some things that happened previously. September 21st, Arlith had its annual back-to-school picnic. There was 700 people there. It's an awesome event. If you haven't gone, I suggest next year you go. It's run really, really well. Eisenhower Elementary School collected $176 for their Dollars for Denim, and it goes to the Valeria Fund, which is helps children pediatric cancer. Going back again, once again, Wilson School PTO sponsored their October Fall Festival. It was an afternoon that included fun, food, DJ for entertainment, and fellowship with Sayreville community. Everyone had a great time, and good job, Wilson School. Let's see. We'll go right to, one other thing. The middle school is celebrating their 50th anniversary, October 8th. It was last week. The middle school had a staff luncheon, and it was an awesome, very well attended, alumni, staff members, and everybody. And I'm going to say one thing. I don't know if Rich isn't here right now, I guess, but he was able to commandeer a Bon Jovi signed autographed guitar, which will be, I think they'll be raffling it off in January sometime for.
Is John Walsh
for a
eligible
fundraiser.
for the guitar?
Of course.
John can
I'll
play
buy a
it.
raffle.
He's allowed to play it. And real quick,
John's going to donate his own, right?
That's
Signed.
I'd rather have John's. On our cross-country, just sports real quick, football's, I believe they're 5-0. 6-0 now? 6-0, I apologize, missed one. Cross-country team doing awesome, they're 6-0. The varsity soccer team, 7-7. The boys, the girls are 7-4. And the tennis team is on their way. They're 11-0 to win another conference tournament. Okay, if they win, it'll be their third one, and Coach Prevenza's 10th title. So good job to all our sports programs. That's all I got.
Thank you.
A lot of certificates again this year.
A lot of certificates
Yeah,
coming, yes.
exactly right.
All right, we're going to move on to approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 30th to September 17th meeting?
So moved.
By Mr. Walsh, second by Mrs. Bloom. Any comments on the minutes?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm just back to the same conversation we had at the last meeting. I had asked for my comment to be clarified in there. It wasn't changed, so, no, I had sent you an email, and the thing that I just really wanted to clarify here is because it says, and I did say this, and I believe Mrs. Bloom was conflicted, but I clarified why I had said it, and I had put in there that she was conflicted as her son works for the district's entitled to health care benefits. And I think that should have been included in there to explain why I thought she was conflicted. I had sent you an email and asked if you could include that in there.
I did not include that in there. I included the comments about the rates.
Right. But you put in there that I felt she was conflicted, and I think it was important to say why I thought she was conflicted, not that I just had that. And I had asked if you could please clarify that.
But what was said at the meeting is the question.
That's what I said at the meeting.
Well, I think the part that gets a little tricky with regard to what you said was you disclosed personal information about a staff member.
There wasn't personal information.
You
It was personal information about Mrs. Bloom.
Yes, what
It was
insurance
one-
coverage our employees
Is
choose
personal
to opt
information.
into or out of is not.
No, that wasn't what I said. I said that she was conflicted because her son works for the district and is
Actually, I remember very
No.
well what you said.
and that he's
It had to
entitled
do
to
with-
benefits.
But again, you can't do that. You can't disclose if someone's getting benefits or not.
I didn't
and
disclose
what
if he
type of-
was getting them. I said he was entitled to them. I have no idea if he is getting them. As a matter of fact, that was what the attorney had said why she was conflicted on health care was because whether he took them or not, he still was entitled to them.
It was not health care, it was finance. We were voting on finance, and you turned it around to
No, we were
personal
voting
issue.
on health
It was
care. I don't know
expenditure
if your
of
son
capital
takes,
funds.
no, we were voting on prescription.
It was expenditure of capital
All right,
funds.
folks.
No, it was about prescription rates we were voting on.
Folks,
We were
we're
voting on
talking about
prescription.
minutes from a meeting that was 2 periods ago over here. So if you want to table them, somebody make a motion, otherwise we're simply going to vote on the minutes.
I'm just going to say, and we also said at the last meeting that our comments can go in if we state when we vote. Is this when we're voting?
We're about to vote, yes.
Okay, so I will state why I'm voting no when I vote. That'll make it
You
easier.
can make any
And
comments.
then it would be in there.
You can make any we're going to vote on the minutes right now, so if you have
So
any
that's when
comments
it
to make, you
counts.
can offer them
Right.
now.
Okay. Oh, you want to do
Yeah.
it now instead of
Yes.
waiting my turn?
Yeah, right now.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to be voting no on the minutes because I don't think it was clarified in the minutes as to why I felt Mrs. Bloom was conflicted. And I felt she was conflicted to vote on the prescription rates because her son works in the district and entitled to health care.
Okay, you've got that? All right, any other comments on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call to approve the minutes.
Mr. Balca?
I'm going to vote no on August 29th also because I think her requirements should be included, and yes on the 17th.
Mrs. Becco?
I'll vote yes on the other minutes.
Mr. Bishada?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Syak?
Yes. Dr. Labby, your superintendent's report, major highlights only, please.
Exactly right. I bring your attention to Vision 2030 Finance and Infrastructure, numbers 16 through 18. We're asking you to approve some very generous donations made to us. You can read them for yourself, but again, we're extremely grateful for the Arlitt PTO, the South Amboy Sayreville Rotary Club, and Mr. Glahusky, a teacher here at the high school, for their efforts in providing us with donations. Numbers 19 through 20, we're asking to approve the application and acceptance of the New Jersey Child Assault Prevention Grant, as well as a 2018-19 BASF Science Education Grant. As you know, along with advertising, we're making a very conscious effort to get grants to offset budgetary costs. So my congrats and appreciation go out to Ms. O'Connor for her efforts with regard to obtaining the BASF grant, and Mr. Nasser for obtaining the Child Assault Prevention Grant. Number 24, which can be found on page 5, we're asked to approve the purchase of metal detectors. We talked about that before. We are asking you to approve several portable metal detectors for the middle school and high school. I think all of our schools, correct? All schools. Number 27, which can be found on page 5, we're asking you to approve a resolution with CME, we talked about that earlier, for their engineering professional services to go ahead and begin the process of reconstructing the multi-purpose field at the high school, which includes the baseball field, hockey, and marching band field. That's it for finance and infrastructure. Any questions or comments?
Comments on finance and infrastructure?
So this CME is the whole thing. We're not going to vote again. This includes the beginning and the end.
The only way we might have to vote again is because of the fact that we did invite the head baseball coach and the athletic director to the meeting the other day, and the head coach did ask about bullpens, which are the auxiliary pitching mounds for the pitchers to warm up in, and he also asked for a replacement on the backstop. So if we include that, we may have to amend the cost. That might increase that $18,500 in professional services cost to something higher. If that does occur, we'll ask you to, again, re-vote on that.
And this is going to be done right away?
Yeah, they're going to get started as soon as possible. But again, it gets real tricky. This work is probably going to be done in the spring when the weather is a little bit warmer. So the field really will not be ready until the fall for the marching band and field hockey, and then in the spring of 2020 for the baseball team.
Ms. Hill, I just need to abstain on CME Associates.
One question on the bill list. I think we're buying 2 54-passenger buses from Truck King International, but there's like a $5,700 difference in price. Are they both spec'd out the same? I think one's an 18, one's a 19 too.
Right, they're not. So the slightly older model, the one that's the year earlier, has a lot more features. So these were 2 buses that were on their lots ready to be purchased. So we purchased them. We actually got the one that's the 2017. Had a lot more features, but we got like a $10,000 discount on it.
These only had 118 left like that with the cheaper. Okay, so you bought the best. Okay.
Any more call?
Mr. Machado?
Quick question on the 19 bus. Is that the one that came with the new standards with seat belts for every student in it?
Those are not, no, those were already pre-done, so they were ready, they were already manufactured. So that would be the ones that we're anticipating getting in December.
All right, thank you.
On the buses, we have to, their years of life before you have to retire them is based on the years we use them, not the year of the bus? Like that 17 won't be a year older than the 18 and count one more year?
The Truck King says that we'll be able to still use it the full 15 years, but he still gave us a $10,000 discount. So.
That sounds like a deal to me.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Moving along to 2030 student achievement. We're asking you on items 1 through 9 on pages 19 through 21 to approve some co-curricular trips and activities. Any questions or comments on those?
Next.
Seeing none, I'll move on to governance. Number 2, we're asking you to approve the district calendar, and I'm going to move ahead a slide so we can take a look at the district calendar. Essentially, the calendar is very similar to the previous year's calendars. The only difference being in that with this calendar, because Veterans Day fell on the 11th, and that normally would be a school day, we decided to take the 11th off. We know here in Sayreville, Veterans Day is something that's very near and dear to us. So we're adding another holiday for our staff and students on the 11th. Mr. Sayak and several other board members did contact me about potentially not having the having students in on the 5th. And we did consider that, but we thought about security, about having people coming into our schools. And yes, I know we do have a police officer in every school, but why take the chance of bringing people into a building that don't need to be into that building? So what we did was we increased another holiday in November, and that added a day in June. And even though we are finishing late in June, we do have that week after as our buffer before we start our summer programs. So we do have still a week buffer. And hopefully we won't have too many hazardous weather days, so we can potentially move that up. But that is why we are finishing one day later than normal, because we did add the holiday for November 11th. And what we also did was we normally have 2 half-days at the end of the year, but seeing that during the 1920 school year, we'll be finishing in that final full week of June, we figured it was best, considering the heat, to make those last 3 days of the school year half-days.
And I must have missed it. Why do we have to have the students start on a Friday?
Why do we have to have the students start on a...
Did you say the students are starting on a Friday or no?
They're starting on
a Thursday.
Okay, all right.
I didn't say anything about the students starting.
I thought you said
No,
Friday.
what I was referencing earlier was November.
Okay, I'm sorry.
November 11th is Veterans Day. As opposed to this year, Veterans Day is on a Sunday. So in 1920, Veterans Day will be on a Monday, the 11th. And I couldn't conceivably ask our staff and students to attend school on Veterans Day here in Sayreville. So that would be, normally we only, outside of Thanksgiving, we only have the 2 days for the NJEA conference off for our staff and students in November. We'll have an additional day due to Veterans Day. But we'll have to make up for it at the end of the year.
Any other comments on the calendar?
Mr. Sack.
Yes, Mr. Michaud.
Dr. Labby, I've seen a trending going on in the state of starting, it's an opinion that's going on with the trending of starting school before Labor Day. Has anyone with your superintendents have discussed this at all at any meetings?
It would be something that would have to be negotiated with the collective bargaining unit. I know that many districts have attempted to do that, and their collective bargaining units have not agreed to start school in August.
And we do have the ability to start before Labor Day. It just must not be before September 1.
Correct.
This calendar, unfortunately, makes that impossible.
Right.
I mean, it's something that,
So that would have to be collectively bargained with the SEA if we would ever consider doing that. But I will say, based upon the people I've talked to, it's very difficult to get the association to agree to that. I believe that the NJEA
Say it could be a statewide position.
gives direction to, with regard to not doing so. I know in other states, though, they do that.
Correct.
Many states across the country start. Some start like in the second week of August.
Yeah.
Harvest season.
But it could be a subject that we bring up.
I would bet they're air conditioned. I would
Yes.
venture to say they're air conditioned.
Could be a subject to bring up during, language discussions at our next round of collective bargaining for our administrators and
Yeah,
our
but
teachers.
isn't the only point of starting earlier was that you can end earlier in June? We're starting we're already,
Correct.
Labor Day is so early anyway.
Correct.
So it's hot in August, so.
Yeah. It's going to be hot either way.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's.
In fact, I would guess that it's going to be harder in August than it will be at the end of June.
Right.
So if we don't have snow, then the teachers will end on a Monday? Is that what this?
If we don't use any of those snow days,
Then the students will end on a Friday?
yeah, if we don't use any of those snow days, yeah, that's probably what it'd be, similar to what we did this past school year. So we're kind of hoping for that.
Me too.
All right. Along with that, we're asking you to approve the goals that I reviewed for over 30 minutes. And then the 2019-20 budget development calendar that Aaron reviewed. And of course, we're asking you to approve our annual resolution celebrating Veterans Day. Any questions on Vision 2030 governance?
Next.
Seeing none. Over to personnel. Number one, we're asking you to accept the retirement of a couple of staff members. And keeping with tradition, I have some remarks to make with regard to them. So we are, again, very happy for Ms. Barbara Morris, but very sad for ourselves because she will be leaving us. Barbara Morris, who is a paraprofessional at the Eisenhower Elementary School, began her career in 1992 when she split her time as a classroom paraprofessional in both the Eisenhower Elementary School and the Sayreville Middle School. Over that period of time, she has demonstrated her versatility and commitment to our students by working in our Pull-Out Resource Center, learning disability and behavioral disabilities classrooms. Barbara was recognized for her hard work, knowledge of students with disabilities, and willingness to go above and beyond when she was named ESP of the Year for the 2011-2012 school year. Although Barbara has proven to be exceptional in many facets of her job, she will be most missed for the personal relationships she has formed with her colleagues over the many years. We wish Barbara a very happy and healthy retirement, and we thank her for the incredible service that she has provided to our district and, more importantly, to the students that she has served. We're also saying goodbye in a very bittersweet manner to a beloved teacher from the middle school. Miss Susan Bythel has been teaching for 34 years in the Sayreville Public Schools. Actually, she's been 34 total years, and 30 years of those 34 years in the Sayreville Public Schools. While employed in Sayreville, she taught grade 7 mathematics to both honors level, at both the honors level and the intermediate level to about 700 students. She has never hesitated to assist the staff with informal mentoring, yet she has served the Sayreville Middle School as a formal mentor in our new teacher mentor program. Ms. Bythel's husband has been retired, and upon her retirement, they plan to share residency between Florida and Pennsylvania. Needless to say that Ms. Bythel has much to look forward to in her retirement years. She has notably added a great deal to the middle school staff over the years and to the students whom she has taught. We thank Ms. Bythel for her service to the district, and we wish her a very happy and healthy retirement as well. And again, on behalf of the administration and the Board of Education, as stated previously, we thank her for her outstanding service to our district and, more importantly, to the students that she has served over 30 years in Sayreville. Number 6 and 7, which you can find on pages 28 and 29, we're asking you to approve the appointment of new certificated and non-certificated staff for the 2018-19 school year. Numbers 8 and 9, which can be found on page 29, we're asking you to approve a transfer of non-certificated staff for this school year. Numbers 15 through 16, which you can find on page 30 and 31, we're asking you to approve the unified sports advisors for the 2018-19 school year, and the fall 2018 coaches. I believe the sport is soccer. And numbers 17 through 24, we're asking you to approve the general education and special education teachers, as well as substitutes who will be working in the fall literacy and math academies. Also the Title III tutorial program, the Adult Immigrant English as a Second Language program, which if you've never seen, I encourage you to go see it. It's phenomenal. And those that will be providing Tier 3 intervention services. And if you've heard me talk about response to intervention before, Tier 3 is by far the most intensive that we provide to our most needy students. So we thank all of these teachers who are providing essential instruction, supplementary instruction to both our general education and special education students at our literacy academies and our Title III tutorial program, the Title III intervention services, and of course, our Adult Immigrant English as a Second Language program. And Mr. Sayak, that is it for my report.
Any questions on personnel? Anything else in the superintendent's report? Hearing none, I'll open up to the public on agenda items only. If you wish to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Fred Block, 25 Calliope Road. First, I want to go on record saying I don't think it's fair that everybody has to wait on me. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible, especially after the long meeting. There was some discussion about the practice field that what we call the practice field, which is the baseball field that's going to be getting work done that should be ready by fall of 2019. I just want to bring up that that is a field that we use critically over the summer to practice. The band practices there throughout the entire summer. And especially the third week in August, which is band camp for the entire week. So all I'm saying is just saying, while that work is being done, if that field isn't available to us, we would either need the main field or something that's comparable for us to be able to prepare for the competition and football season, which starts in September.
Yeah, we will definitely, we feel strongly that the field's going to be ready for you.
Okay.
Because we're going to start in early spring. However, if it is not, we will definitely find you an alternative field.
Okay, great. And like I said, I want to try to blast through all these. The technology report, I want to say I understand wholeheartedly, considering I work in technology and I have pretty much my entire professional career, how difficult it is to troubleshoot things these days. As technology has improved, it has also become far more complicated for people in IT and technology and telecommunications to identify using people's reports, but also figure out what the problem is. And it gets more and more complicated, requiring more and more resources. And as technology evolves, like I said, sometimes it gets harder. So I commend the staff for doing what they have. I think that ripping and replacing a network of this scope is an incredibly huge project, and with obviously good intentions in mind of A, serving the schools and the network, but also trying to save the taxpayers money, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. The man traps, I think that's phenomenal. I call them man traps because I've been working in technology many years, and data centers have been using these types of entrances to prevent people from coming in for a long time. So I definitely think it's great that we are implementing them and looking out for ways to prevent someone from gaining unauthorized access into the buildings. This is a phenomenal thing. I'm very happy to hear that we're putting funds towards this, primarily for the safety of our students. Silly question. There was a discussion about park and its new name. Is this still a park test or with a new name, or is it a entirely different?
Because Dr. Shediak's voice is going, she can just correct me on anything that I get wrong. I believe that the major changes will not take place this year. They'll take place maybe in the spring.
They might.
Basically, they changed the name. It's still the same online platform, okay? They've changed the name and they've reduced significantly the times for each test. So there will be a significant reduction in the amount of time children are tested in each battery. That's pretty much what they've told us thus far. So for instance, hypothetically, English language arts could be reduced by an hour on the amount of time kids are tested.
So does that time reduced also reflect in the curriculum where there's maybe less of a focus towards preparing the kids specifically for the park testing or the new assessment testing, or?
That wasn't shared with us. I suspect what they're going to do is they're still going to try to address the New Jersey learning standards.
Right.
But they're going to reduce the number of questions that address those standards and the amount of time kids are actually taking those tests. So for instance, rather than giving 10 questions with regard to English language standard 1, there might only be 2. And that's basically how they're going to go about reducing the amount of time children are tested, probably by giving less test questions, but still addressing all of the standards.
Okay. During back to school night, I obviously went and I got the opportunity to meet with a lot of my child's teachers. And some of the feedback I'm hearing is that there's going to be reduced homework requirements from some of the teachers. And I don't know if that's something that's being mandated or not, I just think that it is a very good thing. Many of you who have sat here and listened to me talk about this in the past will know that I'm not a huge advocate for tons of homework, which takes away from kids' ability to grow up and spend time. And also, they do spend a lot of time in school every day, so it's very good that I'm hearing something in the right direction with regards to reducing homework load.
That is actually a policy change that was approved by the Board of Education during the last meeting. Basically, what the policy states, and again, Dr. Shedek is going to correct me if I get this wrong, which I probably will, teachers are no longer allowed to assign homework on a Friday or the day before a holiday or recess. And we also changed the weight of homework from, I believe it was
10% to 5.
To 5, it's 5 now.
10% to 5%, and we also did away with the class participation weight. There's no longer a class participation weight.
It's phenomenal news, and I think I can speak on behalf of all parents. We love it, probably as much or more than the kids do themselves. Moving on, like I said, I'm trying to blow through a lot of stuff that I had on my mind. The solar panels. I'm going to tell you, I've had so many bad experiences with these things that you mentioned roofs. I could tell you that, without going into detail, my fire company that I belong to, we are losing our shirts over this great energy program that we were supposed to get by having solar panels, and instead there is so much repair work, so much change. We're taking a bath money-wise, number one. Number two, I think you've recognized that most of the time you're signing away any money that you can get to the company that's installing them in favor of paying back whatever they have to put out to put them there. I would just strongly suggest that you guys are heavily putting focus on making sure that the school is really going to benefit from this with the least liability possible, so that we don't take a bath either. The home show that we had for the marching band, Sue touched on it a little bit. It was a great success, although we did get the mist all day, and I know that Mr. Sayak left with practically no voice, really, really energetic. I want to really put a shout out to the maintenance staff that was there that day. They really came through helping us in a great number of ways. It was recognized by more than just me. However, I do know that I worked very closely with two fellas, which I don't know their name, to get some emergency lighting on the path between the middle school and the high school because we had no light and bands traversing that path with equipment and all kinds of stuff. So they were really very helpful, and it was really good to have that extra help there that day. I also want to, more importantly, thank the members of the board for helping us get funds allocated to the marching band. I think, again, you guys all know that I've come for many years trying to fight the fight to get us some additional funds, and it just hasn't been in the budget. Dr. Labby said better late than never. I recognize that it's not always easy to make these types of changes in the budget to funnel funds around and help the children. It is definitely long overdue, but we are very pleased, and I am very thankful that you guys were able to make something happen for us. It's like they say, good things come to those who wait. And I think the last thing I really want to say is you mentioned also how the board does all of the great work as volunteers. And I think that in today's society, we are very quick to forget that many of the people that work for us in our community are doing so out of the kindness of their heart, out of their caring and passion and drive to try to make something happen, to do something better for our children, for our community, for our constituents, for our taxpayers, however you want to see it. I know that you guys don't get acknowledged often, but I'd like to say personally that I do recognize and appreciate everyone's work and time that you guys put in for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else for public? Okay, hearing none, we will close public. I'll entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's report.
So moved.
Mrs. Bloom, do I have a second?
Second.
by Mrs. Rubio. Are there any comments on the superintendent's report or anything anyone wants in the minutes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bauka?
Just one item, D, number 9 on page 29. I'm going to vote no on the manager cook. Yes on everything else.
Mrs. Backo?
I'm also going to vote no on the manager cook, as just to follow up with the last meeting, since we made another manager at the last meeting.
Mr. Bashada?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes, but I'm required to abstain on addendum number 33, the second person on the list.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes, I have to abstain on number 26, Lori Callahan.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Ms. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Syak?
Yes. Dr. Labby took all my time, so there'll be no delegate to NJSBA report. Are there any committees that wish to report out?
Yeah, I'm not going to, finance, we touched on everything in the reports. There's really nothing to touch on. I just want to make one mention of one thing, and I know there's a lot of discussion on how much we spend on administrators here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're about $5 million under what the average school district spends in Middlesex County. Is that right?
Right,
On administrators?
for all of the administrative costs, we're $5 million below the regional cost limit.
Right.
And most districts approach that, and it is based on where we are in the state. So it's really based around Middlesex County for
Gotcha.
us.
So we do a lot with a little, in other
Yes.
words. Thank you.
Any other committees wish to report out? Mrs. Rubio?
I have the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council, and I think Mr. Esposito will agree with me that this group and the founding of this committee has proved to really have a comment from the parent end that certainly all of you should come and appreciate. First thing they acknowledged at this meeting was, well, we know September is tough for busing, instead of saying, oh, the buses were terrible. And the meeting kind of works on that way. I don't know if it's under the leadership of our administrators, or I believe that Mrs. Pabon has really done a great job in terms of moderating things. So for the first week, transportation, obviously Ms. Howell answered their questions. They were pleased to hear how quickly she was able to rearrange some bus routes to solve some of the early problems. And of course, the addition of the buses, the bus and the mini that is coming in December should hopefully have everything running smoothly. Those minis traveling back and forth from parochial schools and sports runs are definitely a hard time for her to schedule, and she seems to do it effortlessly. Mr. Koningsberg obviously also answered the questions that were of a concern on Facebook, but to these parents as well, in terms of the insects and the rodents. And I want to read exactly.
Depending on what it is, you may want to paraphrase.
No, middle school really had only wood roaches. They come from the wooded areas.
Yes.
And once they're inside that, they die. And there actually were only 5 mice that were caught, and the Board of Health had no problems with what we're doing. One of our big concerns is, the group's concern is the before and after school care. So Springport is coming up on the end of their 3rd year. So there will be a survey going out to the parents. According to the group, they reported costs have gone up, and whether they are involved themselves or their friends are, the enrollment is down, and some people have left due to cost. They charge an extra $25 on early dismissal days, and enrichment was initially mentioned to be added to their program if the children needed extra help, in other words. Now has an incurred fee as well. We discussed the survey and a check for their goals and accountability, looking back at what we asked for and have they done that. We spoke about progress reports. We spoke about the Parent University workshop coming up on the 25th, and that childcare is going to be provided by tomorrow's teachers, our high school group. So if parents do not have someone at home, they can bring the children, and the children will not be in the program. They will be in separate rooms, which I think is a good one. Under the announcements, the Proud meeting is the 18th, and the resource fair is November 1st from 6 to 8 p.m. in the SUES cafeteria, and they're still looking for vendors. And we did discuss, Mr. Glock-Malloy discussed the problems with the Wi-Fi because the parents were asking on that, but I'm not going to rehash that again. Our next meeting is December 12th. It is a public one, and Springboard members, people who use the after school, were encouraged to attend. Do we have a place for that? I don't remember having that mentioned.
We was thinking of Salover, but if we get I mean, I'm not sure how many people are going to come.
How many people we're going to get?
We could probably think about changing it to the media center here at the high school. But what I was thinking of was just doing what we normally do, but setting up chairs for anybody from the public that wants to attend. I mean, I've been discussing, reviewing what has been discussed in Talk Soup, so maybe we'll get people, but I'm not sure how many people are going to come out to it.
Yeah.
I think having it at the high school, having it more centrally located might help get people here too.
And I can ask people to RSVP too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But congratulations to the group. We've struggled with the Parent Involvement Council for years, and we've gone back and forth between the, well, let's present, and no one shows up, and then we've done the open forum, and all we hear about is everything that's wrong in the district. And there's always opportunities for improvement, but the district certainly isn't broken. And it sounds like you've struck that balance where it's really a constructive dialogue that covers both sides of it.
And I think the part that I also enjoy is because the particular schools know the people who come to these meetings. I feel like instead of them voicing a huge concern, they're going to these members.
Good.
You're our representative from
Beautiful.
this
That's the
school.
way it's supposed to work.
So, good ideas.
Excellent. Any other committees?
I just have a question. The Springboard comment, do you renegotiate that contract every year with prices in it, or?
No,
How
with
does that
prices
work?
in it. No, we don't handle any of the prices.
So if the cost, it turns out, starts to become prohibitive, you would just look for another company, or how would that work?
Well, I mean, what we're going to do is we'd first like to survey them. I'm actually meeting with the people from Springboard tomorrow to discuss whether they have a survey or whether we have to develop our own survey. But we do want to survey the people currently using those services, see what their satisfaction level is, and based upon what the satisfaction level is, make a determination as to whether potentially we want to give the parents utilizing that service access to other potential vendors, and then make a decision based upon that as well. So if in fact we get to a point where we decide we want to switch to another vendor, giving the parents that are utilizing those services the opportunity to have a say or input in the vendor that we end up selecting to be the patron. And remember, they're not our vendor, they're just a patron using our building, but we have a great say in that. We want the parents using that service to have a considerable amount of input with regard to that.
But that survey will go to the people that are currently
using it, yes.
So how, for those that left,
Well,
how will we know if it was cost or service?
I'm probably going to put it out as a blast.
A blast, okay.
But, one of the questions will be, are you currently using the services? Or were you previously, I'll craft it. I want to get, if they have a survey, I want to utilize some of the questions that they would normally ask, but also ask our own questions. And like we've done always with our surveys, it'll be an electronic survey.
Any other items of business the board needs to discuss?
One question. Aaron, last meeting or two ago, I asked about a van we ordered a long time ago and it finally came in. I haven't seen it. Did something happen to it?
Yeah, it was not the right model, so it didn't have all the equipment that it was supposed to have, so we had to send it back, and we're waiting on the new one to
So
come.
when's it? Another year?
What? There you go, it's on its way from Ohio.
There you go.
It's on the train.
Isn't
Any
that a
other
song?
items? Mr. Sack? Yes.
I
Just
went
one
back to
quick
Ohio.
thing. Dr. Lab, you mentioned about revenue coming into the district. I saw all these bus routes in our agenda tonight. I was just wondering, has anyone ever considered us providing, meaning the Sayreville School District, providing transportation, say, to students going out of district? We have neighboring towns of South Amboy, Old Bridge, South River, of combining, maybe asking them, instead of hiring private carriers, maybe we could transport their students if our students are going to the same same out-of-placement school.
We do enter jointures with the other districts, so we split the costs in many of our private out-of-district placements. So we will enter a jointure. So whenever you see on the agenda a jointure, that means that another district is, sharing the cost of that bus route to that
Yeah, the reason
school.
I see the Learning Center over here on Cheesequake Road. I see one mini, and all the time there's one student in it, out of district, of course, but I'm saying someone from South Amboy, someone's from South River, Old Bridge, that maybe we could, offer.
And that's unusual too, because that's a New Jersey Ed Services Commission school. So they're using their own buses, and there have to be students from the neighboring districts that are going there. So it's unusual that there's only one student on that bus.
Believe me when I say that. I just happen to be in the area when they're either bringing the students in the morning when I'm traveling, or when I'm going by that area when they're releasing them.
But most of the buses that we contract for our private out-of-district schools, including, that school, they are jointures. We utilize all of our own buses for our own students, and we don't have enough, according to our expectations, to do that. For instance, one of the things that we're going to do to solve one of the problems that we're having at the elementary school level with a special services van is going ahead and leasing a van until the new van that we purchased comes in. And that will take students off of a van and put them on a new van. The problem with those special services vans is that even though they can sit 24 students, it takes a good minute or two a stop. So if you have 24 kids, multiply that by 2 to 3 minutes, and that's how long it's taking. It's far too long. So we can't put more than 13, 14 kids on a van that seats 24 because it takes that long to get through the bus route to drop them off. So that's one of the reasons why we're leasing a van and then using the new van. We're actually at the Arliss and Truman School. We're taking kids. It was a split van, and we're maximizing costs because there were 19 kids on the van, but it's taking too long for the kids to get home. So now we're going to split the two routes up. So there'll be about 10 kids on each van, which will get the kids home sooner.
Just one last question, please. Ms. Hill, on the, in lieu of transportation, by law, that amount is $1,000 per family, am I correct?
No, it's per student. So
I'm sorry?
It's per student, so if a family has 3 students, they would get the $1,000 for each student.
For each student, okay, but I mean per each, that's what I was referring to. I was just wondering, and we tally that for each calendar year per student?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
One quick question. Dr. Labby, how much do we get weekly revenue from Liquid Church, do you know?
I don't know about weekly, but I know that when we added up the weeks, it was over $150,000.
$150,000? That's going to be for the entire year?
Yeah, and probably it's going to be more than that because I think when we originally started, it was September that we were supposed to start, but they actually started earlier. And now they've included some other dates in it.
Just because people ask questions, I just want to get a good number.
Yeah, I wish I could recall the daily amount, but you could probably presume it's a lot based upon how much.
They're going to give us over 150. If I say over 150.
Yeah, and I will mention too, and I've said it before. Not only are they providing us with a substantial amount of revenue, they've replaced the speaker system in the auditorium. They've added monitors in the auditorium, and they still plan on doing more work to upgrade that facility.
They're not a tenant, they're a partner.
It all becomes ours. They don't take it when they leave.
Yeah, and they, if you had a chance to go out to Sayreville Day, they were out at Sayreville Day, and they got a large group of people that went out to them, and they really do want to be, an integral part of this community.
I have a question, though, real quick. I saw that they're going to be here for Christmas Eve service. Schools are closed. Most districts don't allow anybody in schools when they're closed. We're gonna have
Well,
staff
they're
in
here
there.
on Sundays.
No, I understand, but when they're closed for holiday season, holidays and like that, so we're bringing staff in that night?
Well, believe me, the staff is fighting to do it. They're making double time.
Double time, is that what it is?
Yeah, and
Okay.
we're charging double time.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no problem. Mr. Coleman'sberger does not have any problems getting people to work the Liquid Church days.
Santa's going to be very good to a few people.
That's interesting.
Oh, the one day?
Well, it was in the month of August.
Just the month of August, which I believe were 3 Sundays, maybe a little bit more, was $9,000.
9,000.
And that was for only, I think, maybe a couple of Sundays and their grand opening or something like that. So, yeah, we're very pleased, and they're lovely people.
Any other items? I'll open it up to public for any item concerning the district. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Hearing none, I will close public. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 20th. Have a happy Halloween, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Mr. Walsh, second by Mrs. Bloom. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.